Chapter 537. Tang Xian thought back to Tang Ning's recent appearance and sneered. Whether she's pregnant or not, does it make a difference to me? I already have nothing left. After all, the entire Tang family already knew what she had done. Would they still pity her? Of course not. If we expose this news to the paparazzi, we should be able to earn quite a bit of money, the caretaker joked. Over the past few days, as the new year approached, everyone's attention was focused on the Fei Tian Awards. The nature of the Fei Tian Awards was to reward professionals. So this year's chairman was the Fei Tian Lifetime Achievement Award winner. Below him were 2 team leaders, as well as over 20 senior artists, actors and directors. Elder Mo was one of the team leaders. As it was almost time to announce the nominees for the major awards, the judges had already begun their selection process. As for Tang Ning, Mo Ting only nominated W.H. for the Best Newcomer Award. The Best Newcomer Award. It seemed simple, but there were a lot of people competing for this award. In fact, most of them were equally outstanding. After 3 rounds of selection, the experts selected 10 films and held a final discussion. Finally, they used an elimination system to determine the final 5 nominees. Of course, it remained to be seen how W.H. would end up doing. Meanwhile, the public began to vote. As soon as the voting platform opened up, fans from all over the industry began to flock to the voting platform. And at this time, there was a rather big interlude. As Tang Ning's film had recently been released, thanks to her character, a lot of fans voted for her. It didn't take long for the voting platform to collapse. By the time the Fei Tian Awards voting resumed, the organizers discovered that a few of the nominees' votes had been cleared to 0. The organizers explained that this was because fans had used all sorts of methods to manipulate votes. What do you mean by manipulating votes? Does our Tang Ning need it? Long Jie sat in front of the computer. Seeing that other people had already received hundreds of thousands of votes, while Tang Ning's was still in the double digits, she couldn't help but complain. Up until now, the Fei Tian Awards has been fair. If the organizers say that votes were manipulated, then they were manipulated. Lu Che replied as he leaned against Long Jie with a cup of coffee in his arms. What do you mean? Long Jie glared. Seeing that his wife was getting anxious, Lu Che hurriedly chuckled. He put down his coffee cup and sat down beside her. Of course, I'm not saying Madam manipulated the votes. I'm saying someone maliciously manipulated the votes for their opponent. Thinking of this, Long Jie nodded her head. Is it really necessary to go to such lengths with just a 20% ratio? Why not? Lu Che explained. Perhaps, the 20% that you don't care about is the deciding factor in the final score. The others aren't stupid either. As long as it's within their grasp, why wouldn't they fight for it? What should we do now? Long Jie looked at Tang Ning's score worriedly. She had always been a model manager and had never worked in the film and television industry, so she wasn't aware of the unspoken rules from the start. There's no way to find out who's behind this. Lu Che replied calmly. Then, doesn't that mean Tang Ning has no choice but to take the blame? It's not necessarily a bad thing to suffer a loss now, Lu Che said meaningfully. Long Jie did not understand what Lu Che meant. She simply trusted her husband from the bottom of her heart. However, she was still a little nervous. After all, this time, Tang Ning's award was a legitimate competition. Okay, trust the madam. It's time for us to get some rest. Lu Che noticed Long Jie was still worried, so he immediately carried her in his arms. Lu Che. By the way, there's something I want to discuss with you, Lu Che said gently as he placed Long Jie on the soft bed. He then sat down beside her and spoke gently. Actually, I've already spoken to my parents. I miss Dink. Long Jie froze for a moment before asking in surprise. Is it because I can't have children? How long have we been married? It's normal to not have children. There are plenty of couples that have been married for years without having children. Why can't you have children? Lu Che knocked on her head. Can you stop thinking that you can't have children? What if there's something wrong with me? You're a big girl. What's wrong with you? That's what I told my parents. I told them there's something wrong with me and told them to stop thinking about it. What? Long Jie raised her voice. How could you say that to your parents? What if I get pregnant one day? Did I go out and mess around? After hearing Long Jie's words, Lu Che let out a laugh. Your mouth has always been unscrupulous. But I remember you like children a lot. But compared to children, I like you more. Lu Che suddenly wrapped his arms around Long Jie and buried his handsome face into her neck. You probably don't know how important you are to me. I really don't want you to spend every day thinking about having a child. After hearing this, Long Jie froze, unknowingly. Her eyes gradually felt hot, and then, tears easily flowed out of her eyes. Although they weren't big shots, Long Jie knew that the person in her arms was the most realistic form of happiness. Give birth, my ass. I'm not giving birth anymore. I haven't had enough relationships yet. Lu Che sat up and smiled as he kissed away her tears. Just as he was about to move his lips downwards, Long Jie suddenly grabbed onto Lu Che's hands and said in a flattering tone, My period is here. This really isn't the right time. Lu Che flipped over and lay in bed. Why don't you bathe in blood? What are you thinking about? Hurry and go to sleep. Lu Che patted Long Jie on the head. After a simple bout of domestic violence, he hugged the woman in his arms and closed his eyes. He wasn't emoting, so he knew what he wanted to give Long Jie wasn't some award, empire or glory. He wanted to give Long Jie a warm home. After the votes were cleared, the next morning, Tongning's votes once again caught up. Her fans were strong and loyal. But the next night, the votes were cleared again. In the living room of Hyatt Regency, Mo Ting was sitting on the sofa as he watched the results. His eyebrows furrowed slightly. I think we'll be able to lock onto our target soon. Tongning lay on Mo Ting's lap as she gently said, There's no way to defend against this. Even if they catch up to us, we may still be able to clear them one by one. But you must not know, if someone is determined to have manipulated the votes more than 3 times, their 20% score will be cancelled. The public won't care if you've been framed or not. All they know is, you have the most votes and your votes are cleared again and again. Chapter 538. As the saying goes, it's easy to dodge an open spear, but hard to guard against a hidden arrow. At this moment, Tongning finally understood that it wasn't that she had been plagued by misfortune, but that she was placed in a competitive environment, and in a position like this. Even if someone else was in her place, as long as they got in the way of someone else winning an award, the result would still be the same. With this thought, she suddenly felt a lot more at ease. Perhaps, the person pulling the strings behind the scenes was determined to get one of their actors to win an award. But don't forget, Tongning was also participating in the selection this year. They were indeed resourceful, but that was because Mo Ting had never interfered with the Fei Tian Awards. Yet this time, they had unknowingly made a move on Tongning and his wife. So, how could he let them off easy? Especially when the votes would be reset after 3 warnings. How could he allow someone to lower Tongning's score? Absolutely impossible. So the next day, a dramatic scene appeared in front of everyone. All the actors involved in the voting were suspected of manipulating their votes. In fact, they were even more arrogant and crazy than the previous 2 groups of actors that had their votes reset. Because of this, not only did the Fei Tian Awards reset all the votes, they also made some adjustments to the voting methods. Each identity could only vote once, and votes from the same IP address were not counted as valid votes. As a result, everyone was once again at the starting line. Anyone that wanted to compete with Mo Ting needed to first consider whether they had the ability to do so. Otherwise, they would be asking for humiliation. That night, just before the final round of voting, Elder Mo gave Tongning a phone call. Is there anything you need grandfather to help with? I'll leave it to fate. Tongning replied with a smile. I've already done everything I could and everything I could. I have no regrets. This is the backbone of the Mo family. Elder Mo originally wanted to praise Tongning a little more, but Mo Ting snatched the phone from her hand. Old man, it's getting late. Ning needs to get some rest. Rascal, don't you want to help your wife out by letting me open the back door for you? Ning doesn't need it, Mo Ting replied confidently. Fine. Seeing Mo Ting's childish behavior, Tongning couldn't help but say, Don't treat grandfather like this next time. I just want you to have a good rest. Besides, it's obvious that he's here to make himself known. Don't let him get what he wants. After hearing Mo Ting's words, Tongning couldn't help but laugh. In the end, she leaned into Mo Ting's embrace and fell into a deep sleep. The next day at the Starshine Entertainment Building, it was time for the Fei Tian Awards Best Newcomer Acting Award to select the 5 nominees. Out of the 10 newcomers, only 5 would be nominated in the end. Of course, only one would receive the award. With Elder Mo participating in the judging, the judges entered the first round of voting. In the end, after the voting ended, the 5th and 6th ranked actors were tied together. The actor in 5th place had starred in a realistic film called Survive. Of course, in 6th place was Tongning. Tongning was ranked 6th. Elder Mo found this hard to understand. According to Tongning's acting, she was more than qualified to enter the top 3. So why did so few people vote for her? I think we should continue with Tongning. After all, she is still a newcomer. As for the others, in terms of experience in acting, they are all above her. This is an indisputable fact. Indisputable? Elder Mo interrupted and scoffed. The Fei Tian Awards doesn't care about experience, it only looks at acting. Elder Mo, everyone sitting here is a veteran with decades of experience. Can't you tell who doesn't have acting skills? Tell me, out of these 10 people, who doesn't have acting skills? We all know about your relationship with Tongning, but I hope you can maintain a fair and just attitude. You want to talk to me about acting? Elder Mo refused to admit defeat, so he asked someone to show him 2 films. Of course, at a time like this, it was time to compare them. Since that's the case, let's take a closer look at their acting skills. There's no point in comparing the time they've been in the industry and the number of productions they've produced. So I won't talk about that. Let's focus on acting. As soon as Elder Mo finished speaking, he instructed the staff to cut out the best parts of the 2 films and place them on the screen behind him. In Survive, the actress played the role of a blind technician. To highlight small details, she even wore her clothes inside out. When she was bullied, all she could do was throw her fists in the air. She vividly portrayed the pitiful life of an insignificant person sitting on the street. Then, in WH, the female author played the role of Tongning. Suspecting that she had been infected with a virus, she tested her body in the bathroom. From imagining herself turning into a monster, to finally confirming that she wasn't infected, she let out a sigh of relief. The entire performance was smooth and complete. In fact, in just 3 minutes, the character's emotions had completely changed. Both actors' acting was impeccable. From the looks of it, it seemed like it would be difficult to determine a winner. But Elder Mo laughed after the film finished playing. It's not that I'm trying to protect anyone, but Tongning's acting is not a reason for you to dismiss her. Then, Elder Mo, what do you mean? Are you suggesting that we watch Survive? I didn't say that. This young lady's acting is indeed commendable and intelligent. What I mean is, are the actors at the top of the list truly impeccable? I don't understand why the 2 actors with the best acting are ranked 5th and 6th respectively. What are you guys trying to do? I know that the people in front of me are more experienced, so it should be their turn by now. But the Fei Tian Awards is cruel and realistic. It's not decided by experience. If you like to comfort someone, you can go down and buy them a candy. But we are in the judging hall of the Fei Tian Awards. So try not to be careless. After giving his warning, Elder Mo continued to ask for information on the 4 actors at the top of the list. Since some people couldn't be impartial, he had no choice but to work overtime to discuss the matter. By the way, can you guys tell me why you're so determined to dismiss Tongning? Hearing Elder Mo's question, everyone fell silent. That's ridiculous. Is a child with such good acting skills blind? Elder Mo couldn't help but defend his granddaughter-in-law. Of course, Elder Mo had no idea that the trouble was yet to come. Chapter 539. Since you're sitting in this position and you're the judges, please show your professionalism and objectivity. What you should be concerned about is an actor's acting skills, not their qualifications. Since I've said all that, if you still insist on eliminating Tongning, I have no objections. But I hope that each of you can present a reasonable reason. That is the only way to convince me and the public. Elder Mo crossed his arms across his chest and leaned back. Grandfather Mo crossed his arms over his chest and leaned back. Let's start from the first one. Tell me your true thoughts. Everyone hesitated for a moment. Finally, an experienced film critic adjusted his glasses and said to Elder Mo, "The Fei Tian Awards represents the highest form of art in the country and is currently the most professional award in the country. So the person we want to choose not only needs to have excellent acting skills, but also needs to be respected by the public. Actually, the reason I reject Tongning is simple. She has a lot of enemies in the industry, has a bad reputation, is arrogant and has broken the rules of the industry. When it comes to acting, out of these 10 nominees, which one of them doesn't have any acting skills? But some of them are honest people, while others are always on the headlines. She doesn't have a lot of films, yet she is always in the news. This is why I don't like Tongning." After hearing this, Elder Mo nodded his head and asked the others, "What about the rest of you? Do you all think the same way?" "More or less. Me too. If this is what you mean by being objective, then the nominees are all worth digging into. Do you all really understand them?" Elder Mo asked calmly. "I would like to know which part of Tongning's reputation isn't good." Everyone was suddenly stumped by this question, but they still insisted on their own opinions. "Fine, since none of you have anything to say, it must mean you don't like Tongning and won't sincerely vote for her. I won't force you, but I will show you one last thing." After speaking, Elder Mo waved at the staff member. As he approached, he leaned over and whispered a few words in his ear. No one knew what Elder Mo was planning. All they could do was wait for the staff member to show them the highlights of WH. Elder Tang did not do anything else, he simply played highlights from the filming of WH. On the screen, everyone could clearly see how Tongning filmed the fight scene in the water, the escape scene in the jungle and the behind-the-scenes practice. In order to film a film, she has to put in the same amount of effort as everyone else. In fact, she works even harder than the average actor. Do you guys think that her film can become a scene just by saying it? She also walks step by step. What right do you have to ignore the efforts of others with your own prejudice? I don't care about her other identities, nor do I care. But as an actress, what's so special about her? Also, regarding her reputation, it seems we don't belong in the same world. From what I know, she has a huge fan base and is well liked by everyone in Beijing. How come you guys are treating her as an enemy? Proud and arrogant? Can any of you give me an explanation? Everyone could not help but lower their heads. How about this? Regarding the Best Newcomer Award, we will reschedule it for another time. Think about it carefully, and we will make a final decision. Sometimes, it was hard to explain why people hated someone. Perhaps, they were afraid that Tongning as a woman was better and more perfect than a man. In that case, let's reschedule it to tomorrow. We will choose again tomorrow. Perhaps everyone thought that Elder Mo was trying to protect Tongning, so they requested a redo. This was something that had never happened before in the history of the Fei Tian Awards. No matter what time it is, my attitude will not change. After speaking, the middle-aged man in black glasses stood up and left the meeting room. This was not going to be a happy discussion. Of course, a situation like this wasn't uncommon at the Fei Tian Awards. After all, everyone was experienced. For the sake of art, they always haggled over the smallest details. But if word of this got out, it wouldn't be a good thing. After all, Elder Tang and Tongning's relationship was obvious. No matter how much Elder Tang tried to avoid arousing suspicion, he would still be suspected of protecting his granddaughter-in-law. Is there any suspense left for the Fei Tian Awards this time? It's definitely going to be Tongning. According to an insider, the results were originally set, but Elder Mo overruled it. From the looks of it, he really wants Tongning to win the award. Is the Fei Tian Awards about to lose its original fairness? This time, the votes that originally belonged to Tongning were reset to 0. The nomination that originally belonged to Tongning was now backed by someone else. The situation was a little grim. "President, what should we do now?" Lu Che asked worriedly as he looked at some information in the CEO's office. "I really don't understand why these people are so blind. Although Elder Tang has caused a lot of trouble, he has at least done something useful. At least he has given Tongning another chance to vote. What if the results remain the same? Mo Ting did not respond and Lu Che did not dare to continue. After all, the problem this time was a lot more difficult than usual. We need to find a way to untie the knot in their hearts. He didn't expect everyone to be objective, but at least, he didn't want Tongning to be kicked out of the top 5 for some random reason. I never thought it would be so difficult to win a film award, Long Jie said as she supported Tongning as they strolled through the garden at Hyatt Regency. It's never been easy. It's just like my supermodel status, Tongning sighed. But, doesn't it hurt? Originally, it was all justified. But now, even if you win the award, you will only feel comforted. It won't be as valuable as you thought it would be. I trust that the committee will give me a fair decision. Since the Fei Tian Awards is the Fei Tian Awards, the committee will definitely protect the honor that it deserves. You sure are confident, Long Jie smirked in disdain. If I were you, I would have died a long time ago. Tongning was well aware that if she were to win an award, there would be countless people fighting over it. Plus, she had never been one to sit around and wait for death to arrive. Taking advantage of Long Jie's anxious state, Tongning smiled and shook her arm. Don't worry, what belongs to me is mine. No one can take it away from me. You have a plan, don't you? Long Jie suddenly understood the meaning behind Tongning's words. I simply want to receive the fairness that I deserve, Tongning said with a deeper meaning as she turned her head. Chapter 540. The Fei Tian Awards was a prestigious award, so there was no way they would expose any internal disputes. So Tongning refused to believe the rumors from people in the industry. Every year, the Fei Tian Awards had been won through fierce battles. But every time, the organizers would end the competition with a fight. But when it came to Tongning, how could she be judged in front of the public? This way, regardless of whether she received an award or not, she would still be criticized. If she didn't receive an award, people would say that it was a joke for her to return empty-handed after causing such a huge commotion. If she received an award, people would say that she was merely relying on the tree behind her to cool off, and that it had no real value to her. But, could this dilemma really be a coincidence? The brighter the place, the darker it was. Tongning understood this well. She didn't care who the other party was or what their motive was. As long as someone made the first move, she would not be afraid to fight back. Late at night, Hyatt Regency. The lights in the study room were still on. Mo Ting was still sitting in front of his computer, typing away. Tongning held her stomach as she peeked through the crack in the door and watched her husband sitting inside. Needless to say, it was definitely because of her. But she did not push open the door and enter. She knew, from the moment she gave up her role as a model to become an actress, Mo Ting already felt like he owed her. Plus, the incident this time was obviously a provocation to Hai Rui and provoking him. It's cold outside. Go back to your room and sleep. Mo Ting did not lift his head, but he knew Tongning was just outside the door. Tongning was a little surprised as a smile appeared on her face. I've been sleeping a lot lately. It's been a long time since I've seen my husband look so smart and strong. Mo Ting lifted his head, took a deep breath and waved at Tongning. Quick, come over here. Tongning pushed open the door and walked over to Mo Ting's side. She then threw herself into his arms. Hubby. Don't worry, I won't interfere with your PR this time. I also value the Fei Tian Awards a lot. I can't say that it doesn't matter if I don't receive an award or not. I'm not generous enough to give up on everything. Mo Ting wrapped his arm around Tongning and nodded his head. No one can stop you from getting what you deserve. These people must have forgotten who your manager is. Tongning looked into Mo Ting's eyes. The couple had long understood each other. So, how could she not know what Mo Ting was planning? Since the matter had already gotten out of hand and the internet was filled with all sorts of opinions, Hai Rui had to step out and say something. So the next morning, Hai Rui released a statement to reiterate the impartiality of the Fei Tian Awards. Firstly, they wanted to let everyone know that this award had been around for decades and was well respected and trusted by the public. So, it was impossible for the entire Fei Tian Awards to be compromised because of a single person. Afterwards, Mo Ting released a fan letter with a simple title, Why I Helped Tongning Apply for the Fei Tian Awards. In reality, Mo Ting's intention was to tell everyone why Tongning had the right to receive the award. He simply put it in a way that was easier to accept and wouldn't make people feel disgusted. In this letter, the winners of the Best Newcomer Fei Tian Awards from the past 3 years were listed, as well as reviews that analyzed their acting. He had no intention of comparing Tongning to the other actresses currently participating in the selection. Because even if Tongning had nothing to do with him, from an objective point of view, Tongning's acting was more than enough to crush the other actresses. Tongning is capable, but you can't deny that she has a strong background in Hai Rui. It seems the competition for this year's Best Newcomer Award is quite intense. There's going to be a good show to watch. Yilan is also amazing. Her acting as a blind person so well is quite commendable. I think the public is deliberately exaggerating Tongning's influence. She's already kept a low profile. The main thing is, her character is quite legendary. If things continue to go on like this, even if Tongning is the best, the organizers won't give her the award. I don't know why, but I feel a little wronged. Actually, those in the industry could tell that no matter who was competing for the Best Newcomer Award, Tongning would always be their biggest competitor. Not only because of Tongning's ability, but also because of Hai Rui and Mo Ting. The light that shone from her body was dazzling, but at the same time, it also made people feel fearful. Meanwhile, at the Su household, the heiress of Su Kor had just returned from a camping trip and was dressed in a full set of sports gear. Seeing her father and the woman she hated the most sitting in the living room chatting and laughing, she walked over expressionlessly. After greeting them indifferently, she turned around and left. However, she heard the woman say to her father, "Don't worry, I'll kill you. If it wasn't for your protection, I really wouldn't have known how I would have defeated Tongning." Second Master Su acted like a standard businessman as he held onto the woman in one hand and smoked a cigar with the other. "You've been with me for so many years, yet your only hobby is acting. Today you simply want to win an award. Why can't I satisfy you?" Hearing the two flirting in the living room, the heiress scoffed. Although she still walked away, it wasn't as if she didn't take Tongning's name to heart. She clearly remembered the woman that helped her regain her pride and dignity at Tangkor's annual celebration. This was a woman that she admired from the bottom of her heart. It turned out, the news that Tongning had received over the past 2 days was all because of this woman at home. After changing into a new set of clothes, the heiress returned to the living room. Seeing the woman sitting alone on the sofa, she walked over and sat down opposite her. As a person, you can't always be honest. I never thought that you would continue to act so sneakily after receiving an award. What did you say? The woman's face immediately turned red as she glared at the heiress. Did I say something wrong? I admit that your acting is not bad, but deep down, you are afraid of Tongning, aren't you? Otherwise, you wouldn't have used my father's relationship to help you smear Tongning's name. Su Qingyan, show some respect. My current identity is your stepmother. If I remember correctly, you are younger than me, Su Qingyan scoffed. Plus, so what if I'm a stepmother? In this family, I am the only one that is related to my father by blood. If you have the ability, why don't you give birth to a child for him? You. Su Qingyan couldn't be bothered talking to the woman as she stood up from the sofa. However, before she left, she said to the woman, "Actually, I quite like Tongning. If I had to choose, I would choose to stand on her side." Chapter 541. Tongning was the chairwoman of Tangkor. Even if she didn't become an actress, it wouldn't have much of an impact. But when faced with someone as shameless as her stepmother, if she was in her shoes, she would also fight for the Fei Tian Award to the very end. That's right, her stepmother was the female lead of Survive. She was half a year younger than her, yet she was currently acting as her stepmother. Her name was Yilan. Su Qingyan, don't forget that I am your elder. Don't get the wrong enemy. The biggest enemy of my life is already right in front of me. Miss Yilan, what do you think? After speaking, Su Qingyan crossed her arms and turned to leave. Of course, she wasn't lying when she said she was on Tangning's side. She didn't know why, but she felt like she and Tangning had hit it off the moment they met. It was easy for her to feel a sense of empathy from Tangning. So she immediately gave Su Cor a phone call and asked for Tangning's contact details. For Su Qingyan, there was no other mistress in this world that was as shameless as Yilan. In order to become Mrs. Su, Yilan was willing to do anything. In fact, in order to please her father, she even went to Japan to learn some dirty and unpresentable things. Perhaps because she was good at it, Yilan actually went to act. In fact, her acting skills were quite good. But because of Yilan's ruthless methods, she didn't take anyone seriously. Of course, this included Tangning. In fact, she even had something to do with the votes that were being manipulated. Yet, a person like her that couldn't even be bothered to hide her evil side managed to charm her father. Soon, it was time for the second round of voting for the Best Newcomer Actress category. This time, everyone had a serious expression on their faces, like they were thinking about something important. I know that most of you have already decided on yesterday's result. But at least give me an answer. I will still maintain my original vote. Me too. Me too. Out of everyone present, around 10 people expressed that the results had not changed, and they would still maintain their original vote. But, did this mean that Tangning would never be able to win the Fei Tian Award for Best Newcomer? He didn't even get nominated? No matter what the result is, let's talk about it after the vote. Elder Emo said in an unhappy tone. However, I need to remind everyone that Hai Rui has quickly done their PR after the contents of our meeting were leaked. Of course, I am also curious as to how it was leaked. Elder Emo, we only agreed to hold a second vote because we respect you. However, this does not mean that you can unscrupulously suspect and insult us. How would we know why the contents of the meeting were leaked? Cut the crap. Let's start the second round. In reality, although the majority of the voters did not change their original intentions, there were a few that were seriously considering their decision. Especially after seeing Hai Rui's fan letter. Tangning's acting skills were actually on par with the award-winning actors in the past. In other words, Tangning's acting skills were undeniable. As for prejudice, it was something that could be eliminated, even though there weren't many of them. However, for the second vote, it still played a role to a certain extent. In the end, Tangning came in 5th place and Yilan came in 6th. It was only a difference of 1 vote, but Tangning won by a narrow margin. The results were out. Although Elder Emo was still not satisfied with the results, at least Tangning was on the shortlist. As for the second round of voting, it would be conducted by another group. At this time, someone began to question Elder Emo. Elder Emo, I have nothing to say about the results of the vote. But, I would like to know who you voted for in the end. Don't tell me you directly gave it to Tangning? What do you mean by that? Elder Emo asked. You've always reminded us to be fair and objective. But we want to know if you've done your job as a judge. The man said after a short pause. The man paused for a moment before continuing. If you want to convince us, it's easy. You simply need to cancel Tangning's vote. After all, although you've been fair your entire life, will you become muddle-headed as you get older? By canceling Tangning's vote, she would return to being the same as Yilan. Although Elder Emo wanted to refute, he could tell from the looks of the crowd that they agreed with the man's suggestion. So Elder Emo smiled calmly. So all I have to do is cancel one of my votes? Of course. The man replied confidently. Okay then, Elder Emo said before he turned to the staff that was in charge of revealing the results. Cancel my vote. Everyone assumed that Elder Emo would vote for Tangning. But in reality, Tangning's votes did not change. Instead, the ones that changed were the 1st and 2nd place actresses. Elder Emo had voted for someone else, not for Tangning. What else do you guys have to say? Everyone fell silent, including the person that asked Elder Emo to cancel his vote. Since the new results had already been announced, everyone should comply. Since you have nothing else to say, then the nominees will be confirmed. A portion of the people did not think the result was a big deal. But a portion of the people that opposed Tangning scoffed in their hearts. So what if she was nominated? The lowest number of votes meant that Tongning had the least chance of receiving an award. But even if she had the least chance, it didn't mean she didn't have one. The next group of judges would be even stricter, and no one would be able to influence their decision. So, Elder Mo no longer needed to worry about Tongning's situation. In reality, after Hai Rui's PR handled the matter, the public accepted the fact that Tongning had a chance of receiving an award. After all, Tongning's ability was clear for all to see. As long as Hai Rui emphasized Tongning's ability over and over again, they would be able to fend off most of the rumors. This was the result of the Mo family's grandfather and grandson's hard work. One did it for his wife, while the other did it for his granddaughter-in-law. As long as it was for their family and loved ones, they were willing to do anything. Of course, they simply wanted to give Tongning a fair chance. After all, they had Tongning's back. Although she was protected, she would also be questioned. Tongning was obviously such an outstanding actress. For the sake of acting, she worked harder than anyone else. But because of Hai Rui and the fact that she was Mo Ting's wife, everyone had higher expectations for her. Chapter 542. Yilan had been eliminated. Even though she knew this result, there was nothing she could do. She couldn't bribe the judges, so she had no choice but to defame Tongning in order to achieve her goal. But in the end, she still lost to Tongning by 1 vote. That night, Yilan complained to her husband at home. "Hubby, I can't accept it. I've already been the female lead of 5 films. It wasn't easy for me to get this opportunity. How can Tongning, who has only acted in 2 films, compare to me? Tongning is, after all, our business partner. Don't be so calculative. She is your business partner, not mine. Plus, old man Su, let me tell you, your daughter previously threatened me that she would stand on Tongning's side. Could she be the cause of this?" Just as Yilan was about to cry, Su Qingyan walked down from the 2nd floor and looked coldly at the couple in the living room. "You are 25 years younger than my father, so please don't roll around on top of him. It's disgusting." "You, Qingyan, how can you speak to your mother like that?" Papa Su's cold voice echoed throughout the living room. "Did you do something behind the scenes? Did you cause your mother to be eliminated? It's not like you don't know who Tongning is. As long as she wants something, everyone in the world has to give way." Su Qingyan laughed. "It just so happens that she and I hit it off quite well. It seems from now on, we should spend more time together. Who knows, maybe we can get rid of the evil in the family." After speaking, Su Qingyan turned to leave. At this time, Father Su stood up and roared, "Stop right there." Su Qingyan heard the roar, but she did not turn around. However, Father Su suddenly chased after her and kicked her in the waist. Violence was sometimes synonymous with the family. Meanwhile, Yilan crossed her arms behind her back and laughed out loud. Su Qingyan lay on the cold floor, but the stubborn woman had no intention of begging for mercy. She stood up and stubbornly headed back to her room. She had always believed that karma existed in this world. If a person was despicable, they would be punished by God. Soon, the nominees for the Fei Tian Awards were announced. Tongning's name was naturally amongst them. Afterwards, the amusing incident of Elder Mo being asked to cancel his vote was treated as a joke. Of course, this also proved that Elder Mo did not show favoritism. In order to avoid suspicion, he had never considered voting for Tongning. This also proved that his request for a revote was an objective request, and not because of his selfish motives. Qualified. The road to being nominated was already so difficult. What about winning the prize? After seeing the list of nominees, quite a few people called Tongning to congratulate her. Song Yenshu was one of them. Although Tongning didn't say much to her, she was still polite to her out of courtesy. "Ningjia, I'm really happy for you. Thank you." Even though they used to be friends, because of Tang Jingxian, they had no choice but to drift apart. "Well, have you heard from Luo Xing?" Although Song Yenshu had a feeling that Tongning wouldn't tell her, she couldn't help but ask. "Yenshu, don't worry about someone that's gone. You should focus on your own life." Tongning replied straightforwardly. "I know you've always felt guilty towards him, but you really don't need to feel that way. Ningjia, I actually still like him. Perhaps Song Yenshu gathered all her courage to say these words. But for Tang Jingxian, these words came too late. I never expected him to be so serious. I never expected. He has always been a serious person. You should know this. But your heart is biased towards someone else, so you can't be sure. Tongning directly pointed out the hidden meaning behind Song Yenshu's words. Yenshu, let bygones be bygones. Yes, let the past be the past. I just wanted to tell you that I'm getting engaged. In that case, congratulations. They were already about to get engaged. Yet Song Yenshu was trying to imply that she had someone else in her heart. Tongning really couldn't understand Song Yenshu's views on love. Thank you. I know you don't want to listen to me right now. I'm sorry for disturbing you, Ningjia. It's fine. I wish you happiness, Tongning said before she hung up the phone. She was well aware of what was going on between the three of them. Because of this, she did not want Tang Jingxian to be dragged into the whirlpool of emotions. He had already been hurt by Xia Jingyi and now by Song Yenshu. Hadn't he been taught a lesson enough? Even so, Tongning still gave Tang Jingxian a phone call in the US. Yenshu is getting engaged. I think you should know about it. Sister 3, I'm feeling a lot better. I'll be back in 2 days. I should go give Yenshu my blessings. Tang Jingxian replied calmly. It's up to you. Tongning could obviously tell from Tang Jingshuan's voice that there wasn't a hint of sadness. Perhaps he had already extricated himself from the swamp of love. Okay. When the time comes, it's best if you bring a date. You are, after all, the fourth master of the Tang family. Don't let others look down on you, Tongning reminded. I understand. So after hanging up the phone, Tang Jingxian took the initiative to contact Song Yenshu. Of course, Song Yenshu did not expect this, even though Tang Jingshuan's tone was unusually cold. Congratulations, Yenshu. I've already heard from Sister 3. Will you be coming? Song Yenshu asked anxiously. Uh-huh. Tang Jingxian nodded. No matter what, you've helped me in the past. I will never forget the kindness you've shown me. I will definitely be there. Okay, see you then. Song Yenshu actually had a lot to say to Tang Jingxian, but as the words reached the tip of her tongue, they turned into the most polite of greetings. Tang Jingxian would be there. He would be there. The nominees for the Fei Tian Awards were announced, and the ceremony was set for February 13th, one day before Valentine's Day. Song Yenshu's engagement ceremony was set to be held in 3 days. During this time, Tongning received a surprising phone call from the heiress of Su Cour, Su Qingyan. If it wasn't for the incident at Tang Cour's annual celebration, Tongning may have already forgotten about this person. But as soon as she thought about the scene of Tang Xian being taught a lesson, Tongning immediately thought of the beautiful and elegant woman. Chapter 543. Out of politeness towards a business partner, and because she had a good impression of Su Qingyan, Tongning agreed to meet with her. Su Qingyan understood that Tongning's identity was inconvenient, so she suggested that she visit Tongning at home. Of course, she couldn't visit the Su family home. After all, that vixen was at home. If she saw Tongning, wouldn't she go crazy? After careful consideration, Tongning decided to be on guard against Su Qingyan. After all, she had no intention of revealing her pregnancy to the public. So, meeting at home was undoubtedly the best option. So she happily agreed to Su Qingyan's request. Ting, why do you think Su Qingyan wants to see me? After putting down her phone, Tongning was confused by Su Qingyan's actions. Lu Che has already looked into her. She is a passionate person. Mo Ting wrapped Tongning in a thin blanket and pulled her into his embrace. Tongning understood what Mo Ting meant. She could get to know Su Qingyan, and it wasn't a big deal. Okay, I got it, hubby. Not long after Mo Ting left home, Su Qingyan followed him into Hyatt Regency. Although she had already imagined Tongning and Mo Ting's love nest, when she actually saw it, she couldn't help but sigh. Living in a villa like this, yet it didn't feel cold at all. It was easy to imagine how serious Tongning and Mo Ting were in managing their family. This was the second time Su Qingyan had seen Tongning. She no longer had the mysterious and noble aura from the other night. Instead, she was just like a gentle housewife. but she still looked out of this world. Did I disturb you? Su Qingyan smiled apologetically. Miss Su, please have a seat, Tongning smiled. You must be surprised why I suddenly want to see you, Su Qingyan said as she sat down on the sofa. Su Qingyan took the opportunity to sit down on the sofa. Actually, I don't mean anything by it. I don't know how to express my feelings either. I simply want to say that the person that tried to stop you from being nominated was Yilan. You. She is also my stepmother, Su Qingyan shrugged awkwardly. Tongning was a little surprised, but she quickly recalled Yilan's age. If she was right, she was a little younger than Su Qingyan. I came here specifically to thank you. If I don't say this, I don't think I'll be able to sleep. I haven't seen that vixen so flustered and exasperated for many years. You don't need to be on guard against me. I simply came here today to thank you and thank you for the annual staff ceremony. I'm not part of your circle, so I don't have any extra thoughts. Actually, Tongning had already noticed that Su Qingyan wasn't being too calculative. She was simply happy and felt that she had found a friend that shared a common enemy. Your waist. What happened? Tongning noticed that from the moment Su Qingyan sat down, she would occasionally rub her waist. From the looks of it, she wasn't feeling well. I'm fine. Su Qingyan smiled. Of course, there was no way she was going to tell Tongning about her injury. It must be a little awkward. I was in such a hurry to see you. Yet it was all because of a small matter like this. You should be very busy. Tongning looked at Su Qingyan and laughed. She then shook her head. As you know, I've retreated from filming, so I'm not too busy. I see. Actually, I didn't come here without a reason. Take it as me telling you to be careful of the vixen, Yilan. Are you worried about me? Tongning asked in amusement. No. No, I know what you're capable of. I simply wanted to beg you, if that vixen ends up in your hands, don't go easy on her. After hearing this, Tongning let out a genuine laugh. Su Qingyan was indeed. Just as Emoting had described, she was an emotional person. She didn't have a high EQ, but she was straightforward and not annoying. At least, Tongning couldn't find it in her to hate her. Don't worry, I can't guarantee anything else, but I can promise you one thing, Tongning said as she let go of the fear in her heart. In reality, Su Qingyan wasn't good at finding topics to talk about. Her mother passed away when she was young and her father was always beating and scolding her. So she never learned any communication skills from her family. In fact, she didn't even know how to have a heart-to-heart talk with others. The only reason she was still able to talk to people was because she was raised to a certain extent. Of course, on the day of the annual award ceremony, she was forced into a corner by Tang Xian. But apart from being forceful, she didn't know how to deal with problems like that, did she? The two simply sat there in silence. But it didn't take long before the doorbell rang. Su Qingyan subconsciously stood up and said to Tongning, I'll go open the door. Tongning did not move. After all, she was pregnant and her stomach was in the way. But Tongning never expected that Tang Jingxian would return home a day early and be so surprised to see Su Qingyan. Little monkey? Su Qingyan was a little surprised as she pointed to herself and asked, Do you know me? Tang Jingxian looked at her like she was talking nonsense. After entering, he laughed. We went to the same primary school, the same middle school, and the same high school. You have always been famous. No wonder when I saw you on TV, I thought you looked familiar, but I couldn't remember why. Su Qingyan suddenly came to a realization, but she quickly covered her face. In that case, do you already know about all the embarrassing things that I've done in the past? Tang Jingxian couldn't help but laugh as he nodded his head. Seeing the interaction between the two and the smile on Tang Jingshuan's face, Tongning cleared her throat to remind the two that there was someone else around. Sorry sis, I'm a little excited to see an old classmate. Of course, the so-called old classmate that Tang Jingxian was referring to was simply the same school. One was at the front and the other at the back. Are you ready for the place you will be going to tomorrow? Tongning asked. Hearing this question, Tang Jingshuan's expression darkened as he took a deep breath. I'm ready. Where is it? Can I go too? Tang Jingxian was a little surprised. But Tongning suddenly laughed. Of course you can go. Jingxian, what do you think? If he could bring Su Qingyan along, that would be great. Although this little brat didn't have a high EQ, it was obvious that she was learning how to get along with others. Can I go? At first, Tang Jingxian did not respond. But after thinking about Tang Ning's intentions, he finally nodded his head. As long as you don't get bored. I'm sure there will be endless topics to talk about when I chat with you. Over the years, Su Qingyan had practically no friends because of her family. Her personality had only improved in the past 2 years. If this was in the past, her temper would be like a bomb. It was rare for Su Qingyan to meet a classmate that she could get along with, so she did not feel uncomfortable. Of course, Tang Jingxian also felt extremely relaxed. Chapter 544. Tang Ning never expected things to turn out this way. But as long as her brother wasn't bullied, everything was fine. She didn't know why, but she trusted Su Qingyan from the bottom of her heart. She felt that Su Qingyan was the key that could protect Tang Jingxian. The key to a safe castle. Perhaps it was because they were old classmates, but as soon as they left Hyatt Regency, they chatted for quite some time. They even exchanged contact details. In the end, Tang Jingxian even offered to drive Su Qingyan home. No need. My house isn't too far away. Plus, I drove my own car here. Tomorrow you need to do me a big favor. So it's only right that I take you home today. Su Qingyan had never been a reserved person. Seeing that Tang Jingxian was sincere, she did not reject him as she boarded his sports car. However, in that moment of absent-mindedness, Tang Jingxian suddenly thought of Song Yenshu, who had always sat in this seat. What's wrong? Su Qingyan asked. Nothing. Tang Jingxian replied as he pulled himself together. Don't tell me you're thinking of a woman? Su Qingyan immediately exposed Tang Jingxuan's lie. But she felt that it was rude. So she placed her hands under her chin and made an extremely ugly gesture. Am I prettier than I am? Tang Jingxian let out a laugh. You're still the same as before. Actually, I prefer to wear jeans and sportswear. But over the years I've been forced to dress like a lady. After speaking, Su Qingyan tore her dress apart and tied it together. This feels a lot more comfortable. Tang Jingxian continued to smile, especially when he saw Su Qingyan's relaxed expression. It was hard to find someone that made him feel comfortable in life. Let's go. Sit tight. Not long after, the couple arrived at the entrance of the Su household. After thanking Tang Jingxian, Su Qingyan pushed open the door and stepped out of the car. The couple had already agreed on a time to meet the next day, so they did not exchange much pleasantries. However, just as Tang Jingxian was about to drive home, he noticed Su Qingyan's handbag was left on the side of the car. It had been a long time since Su Qingyan had acted so presumptuously. She never imagined that she would run into Father Su and Yilan as soon as she returned home. As soon as Father Su saw her torn dress, his expression darkened. Who told you to dress like a delinquent? Su Qingyan, don't you know that you're the heiress of a wealthy family? Wandering around like a nightclub lady every day. Are you deliberately trying to embarrass me? Su Qingyan's face turned pale. She glanced at Yilan, who was standing behind Father Su. Needless to say, her every move had been exposed by this vixen. Do you still care about the rules of the family? Father Su grabbed onto Su Qingyan's arm and shook it violently. It hurts. Su Qingyan cried out as her expression turned serious. Apart from hitting me, what else can you do? You still dare to talk back. Tang Jingxian never imagined that he would see such a scene after entering the Su family. Papa Su was completely disregarding his daughter's feelings, and was actually punching and kicking her, even if he was kicking her in places that were hard to see. No wonder she kept rubbing her lower back in the car. Tang Jingxian originally wanted to barge in, but when he thought about Su Qingyan's fearless expression, he froze in place and stopped right in front of the door. He knew that Su Qingyan was stubborn, and didn't want anyone to see her in this state. So he did not barge in. Of course, this was only after he confirmed that Papa Su had stopped hitting her. Because he had been born into the Tang family, he had never been taught a lesson by his own parents. So when he saw Father Su's vicious expression, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Was this how he was treating his own daughter? That night, after returning home, Tang Jingxian thought about Su Qingyan's beaten expression, and immediately pulled out his phone. Little monkey, I won't be going tomorrow. Why? I've already picked out my outfit, Su Qingyan replied. Idiot, doesn't it hurt? If it's a man, come pick me up tomorrow morning. Do you know how smug that vixen at home is? It wasn't the first time that Yilan had teased Su Qingyan, saying that no one would ever want her. Plus, Su Qingyan's personality was indeed flawed. Every man she dated didn't last long. So as time went by, she got used to being single. But this didn't mean that she didn't take Yilan's words to heart. Actually, Tang Jingxian knew better than anyone that Su Qingyan was a typical outwardly strong, but inwardly weak person. As he thought about how Yilan had teased Su Qingyan, Tang Jingxian did not continue. He simply held onto his phone and smiled. He understood better than anyone how it felt to have a vicious woman in the family. Even though Tang Xian had already been taught a lesson by Tongning. At least the Tang family had Tongning. But who else did the Su family have? There was only Father Su, who bullied his own daughter every day. In order to help his old classmate vent her anger, Tang Jingxian woke up early in the morning. Dressed in a dark blue retro handmade suit and a dark green coat. He also drove his rarely used blue Maybach from the garage. Most importantly, along the way, he even bought a bouquet of elegant champagne roses. 8 a.m. Tang Jingxian arrived at the entrance of the Su household. The person to open the door was Yilan. As soon as she saw Tang Jingxian, she exclaimed in surprise, Luo Xing? Excuse me, may I ask if Miss Su is home? I am here to pick her up. Yilan looked at Tang Jingxuan's handsome and elegant demeanor, so she couldn't help but take a few extra glances at him. After all, she was still young and everyone loved beauty. She's not home. But I gave her a phone call and she said she was at home. Tang Jingxian directly exposed Yilan. Since that's the case, please come in. I'll help you call her. No need. Su Qingyan's voice suddenly sounded from behind the couple. We'll be heading out then, stepmother. At that moment, Yilan's face turned frighteningly red. Simply because Su Qingyan had called her stepmother. More importantly, Yilan was filled with jealousy. How could Su Qingyan find such a young and handsome man, while she had to serve the old man? So she is the woman that remarried your father. Tang Jingxian looked at Yilan playfully. Tang Jingxian looked Yilan up and down playfully. He did not give her any face at all. As expected, she can only be a second wife. After all, normal men wouldn't have such bad taste. Let's go. We shouldn't waste any more time. Su Qingyan walked past Yilan and arrived in front of Tang Jingxian. Tang Jingxian wrapped his arm around Su Qingyan's waist and turned her around. Be careful, I'll open the door for you. Chapter 545. Jingxian, you are so considerate. Go on in. Be careful. Tang Jingxian smiled gently. After Su Qingyan got into the car like a gentleman, he walked around the front of the car and headed straight for the driver's seat. Seeing this, Yilan's heart burned with jealousy. Although she had indeed married a tycoon, and had managed to step all over Su Qingyan over the years, Father Su was old, and there were many things that he couldn't do. It was impossible for him to provide her with warmth and romance like a normal man. So as she watched Tang Jingxian treat Su Qingyan so considerately, she was tempted to tear Su Qingyan's pretty face apart. Haha, this is the first time I've seen this expression on Yilan's face. It feels so good. Inside the sports car, whenever Su Qingyan thought about Yilan's expression, she would feel excited and happy. Don't you feel bad? Tang Jingxian asked with a double meaning. Why would I feel bad? Su Qingyan asked questioningly as she looked at Tang Jingxian. Tang Jingxian actually wanted to say that he had bought some medicine from the storage compartment in the front passenger seat to take care of his old classmate. But Su Qingyan didn't seem to care about the pain on her body at all. Was he going to tell her that he had seen it with his own eyes last night? It's okay. You look beautiful today. Tang Jingxuan's words came from the bottom of his heart. After all, Su Qingyan had always been intelligent. Her bright eyes made her seem like an interesting person. She didn't suck up to others and didn't hide her true feelings. Yet, she was so straightforward that no one would dislike her. This was something that was hard to come by. When am I not beautiful? Su Qingyan smiled confidently. By the way, where are we going today? To attend a friend's engagement. It can't be. It can't be your old manager, can it? I've heard about what happened between the two of you. Yes, it's her. But there's nothing going on between us, Tang Jingxian explained. You're lying. If there was nothing going on, would you need a female companion to boost your courage? If there was nothing going on, would you always have that confused expression on your face? I may be a little straightforward, but I'm not stupid, Su Qingyan laughed. In that case, did she dump you or did you dump her? We never started. She's always had someone else in her heart. Understood. Don't worry. Today, I will definitely protect my old classmate's little heart. Su Qingyan said as she patted her chest. But as she used too much force, she realized her chest had been injured. So, she immediately clutched her chest and let out a scream. What happened? I'm fine, Su Qingyan immediately recovered. Actually, you really look like a pushover. Tang Jingxian suddenly smiled. You're clearly at a disadvantage, but you still tell yourself that being at a disadvantage is a blessing. That's because no one dares to provoke me, okay? Back in those days, I was also a person who carried a knife. I lived a life of licking blood from the tip of a knife. I've heard of it. He ran away from home for 2 days and spent 3,000 yuan. Then he went home with his tail between his legs. Am I really that famous? Su Qingyan awkwardly tucked her hair behind her ear. At this time, Tang Jingxian finally noticed, on her left cheekbone, there was a small mole. It was quite special. Tang Jingxian smiled and shrugged his shoulders without replying. The jokes that Su Qingyan made back then could probably be written into a joke book. After her mother passed away, her father only knew how to hit her. At that time, she was the rebellious and bad student in everyone's eyes. But because of her, school life became a lot more fun. Have you noticed that there are a lot of cameras pointing at us? Su Qingyan took note of her surroundings while waiting for a red light. After all, even though Tang Jingxian had announced his retirement from the music industry, he was still Luo Xing. This was an indisputable fact. Don't worry about what others think, Tang Jingxian replied calmly. Tang Jingxian said calmly, I'm just a businessman right now, not a celebrity. When they get bored, they'll naturally let us go. Su Qingyan smiled and nodded her head. She had noticed the change in Tang Jingxuan's mood. The Tang Jingxian of the past and the Tang Jingxian of now were completely different. It didn't take long before the couple arrived at Song Yanshu's engagement ceremony. As there were a lot of people present, Tang Jingxuan's appearance was bound to cause a commotion. After all, Song Yanshu had once sacrificed her reputation for Tang Jingxian. But no one knew why the two had ended up in such a state. Isn't that Luo Xing? I never imagined that he would be attending today. It's only been a few days since I last saw him, and he seems to have gotten even more handsome. Don't tell me he's here to steal the bride. Are you guys blind? Doesn't he have a beautiful woman by his side? As Tang Jingxian walked past, the surrounding people all lowered their heads and whispered amongst themselves. Of course, the entire ceremony was focused on Tang Jingxuan's every move. At this time, Su Qingyan leaned against Tang Jingxuan's shoulder and said, These people seem to be itching to skin you alive. You'll get used to it, Tang Jingxian laughed. The bride seems to be over there. Shall we go over? Su Qingyan asked as she pointed to a corner of the lawn. Tang Jingxian looked over and grabbed a glass of champagne from a waiter's tray. He then led Su Qingyan over to the dressed Song Yanshu. Song Yanshu also spotted Tang Jingxian and felt an indescribable feeling in her heart. Especially when she saw the woman beside Tang Jingxian. The pain in her heart became even harder to hide. I can tell that Song Yanshu has feelings for you. Tang Jingxian ignored Su Qingyan as he wrapped his arm around her shoulder and smiled at Song Yanshu. Congratulations. Thank you for coming. Song Yanshu raised her glass and clinked it against Tang Jingxuan's. By the way, who is this? I am his first love, Su Qingyan replied. Tang Jingxian was defeated by Su Qingyan as he let out a laugh. What are you laughing at? Isn't that right? You've been in love with him since primary school until high school. Yes, Tang Jingxian nodded his head. Who would introduce themselves like this? In reality, Everyone was well aware that Song Yinshu's family background was extremely prestigious. As for her fiancé, it was no surprise that he wasn't inferior. The man stood tall and handsome. Seeing his fiancé chatting so passionately with his former employer, he was naturally enraged. So he directly walked over to them. "Luo Xing, it turns out you're back. Welcome to my and Yinshu's engagement ceremony." "You're welcome. Congratulations." The two had once competed against each other in secret. But now the man was standing in front of Tang Jingxian with a victorious attitude. Chapter 546. Is this your new girlfriend? Is this your new wife? Su Qingyan looked at the man in displeasure. Who asks a question like that? Who are you trying to make things difficult for? The man's face turned slightly red as he let out a dry laugh. "Miss, I think you've misunderstood. I don't have any other intentions." "Whether or not I have any other intentions, I'm sure you know. Everyone that is present at your engagement ceremony is either rich or powerful. For someone like you, don't tell me your family isn't worried about you stirring up trouble?" Actually, the words that Su Qingyan was saying were words that others had previously said to her. "Mississippi. I don't have any intention of looking down on Luo Xing. I know your families have some background, but don't forget, this man's sister is the chairman of Tang Corps, and this man's brother-in-law is the CEO of Hai Rue. As for the lady in front of you, she is the heiress of Su Corps. By the way, I'm sure with his status, you have no right to look down on him." Su Qingyan did not give the man any face as she put him on the spot in front of all the guests. In the end, the man's parents couldn't stand it any longer, so they quickly stepped forward and comforted Su Qingyan with a few words. "What do you think? Do you admire me?" A moment later, Su Qingyan suddenly asked as the couple stood on the grass to watch the ceremony. "In that case, tell me, why did you need my sister to save the day at Tang Corps' annual celebration? Let's not talk about your idiot sister. My face still hurts when I think about it." Su Qingyan scoffed. "That's different. Today's wedding is much more interesting. It's obvious that Song Yinshu has feelings for you and her fiancé has a look of superiority on his face. I really want to know, will Song Yinshu really be happy marrying a man like him?" "That's right. I don't know," Tang Jingxian scoffed. He had once thought that Song Yinshu would be by his side for the rest of his life, even if it was just as a companion. "In the past, I thought she had quite a personality. But in the end I realized she was just a normal person. I really don't understand. Is it really that hard to be honest with one's feelings?" Su Qingyan took a deep breath and took a sip of the champagne in her hand. However, everyone has their own thoughts. It didn't take long before Song Yinshu's engagement ceremony came to an end. At this time someone suggested, "Today is our beautiful bride Song Yinshu's big day. Since the heavenly king Luo Xing is here, why don't we ask him to perform a song for Yinshu to commemorate their friendship?" At this moment, everyone turned their attention to Tang Jingxian and Su Qingyan. Of course, they also joined in the fun. Play a song. Play a song. Originally, an invitation like this was reasonable. But everyone knew that Song Yinshu had once sacrificed her reputation for Tang Jingxian. So there was a certain ambiguity between the two women. Under such circumstances, there was actually someone who made such an invitation? Above all, Tang Jingxian had clearly stated that from the day he announced his retirement, he was no longer Luo Xing. He was now the fourth master of the Tang family, Tang Jingxian. The fact that these people still dared to say such things showed that they didn't take Tang Jingshuan's words to heart. So, Tang Jingxian naturally furrowed his brows. There was no way he was going to sing a song. Su Qingyan hated seeing a group of people bullying one person. So she immediately stepped out and said, "Only I can listen to my Jingshuan songs. If you guys want to listen, then I will sing it. Plus, let me emphasize once again, my Jingxian is no longer Luo Xing." After speaking, Su Qingyan stepped forward and took the microphone from the MC's hands. Originally, everyone thought that she would sing well. But to everyone's dismay, she ended up breaking her voice. Everyone covered their ears in discomfort. Only Tang Jingxian listened attentively from below the stage. Su Qingyan had been like this ever since she was a student. She was always involved in fights and had the vibe of a bandit. But most of the time, her actions were for the sake of others. Therefore, she was the only demon king who ate and drank for free in the school, but she was never hated by others. Miss Su, I beg of you, please stop singing. Someone couldn't help but kneel down in front of Su Qingyan. Su Qingyan scoffed and handed the microphone back to the MC. Some people thought she was tacky, some thought she was charming, and some thought she was handsome. But Tang Jingxian thought she was interesting. Su Qingyan was an interesting person. Her brain was obviously simple, but the things she did were always unbelievable and shocking. From today onwards, I hope none of you will say anything about my Jingxian and Miss Song. It's obvious, that's not the case. After speaking, Su Qingyan turned around and looked at the red-faced groom. My Jingxian is hungry. I'm going to take him out for a meal. You guys can continue. Seriously, every Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to bully my Jingxian. Tang Jingxian watched as Su Qingyan approached him step by step. Although she was only treating him as a classmate, he couldn't help but admit that she was indescribably handsome. Xian baby, let's go. So, who was the one that had been humiliated? The guests looked at the two couples' expressions. Obviously, the only ones that were embarrassed were Song Yinshu and her fiancé. I didn't know that the heiress of Su Kor was actually quite cute. Hey, did you guys record the song she sang just now? Why do I feel like Honey sounds really good? From now on, if an ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend gets married, I can directly send this song over and play it in front of everyone. It's going to be very effective. Ha ha ha, she's super cute. Of course, Tang Jingxian and Su Qingyan had no idea what the guests were talking about. But as soon as they boarded the car, they couldn't help but laugh. Let me tell you, I love messing up other people's weddings. Breaking up a couple is a pair. I didn't expect your singing to be so terrible. Tang Jingxian laughed so happily, which was rare for him. This time, Su Qingyan did not play around as she sang the lyrics in a serious manner. Actually, her singing was quite good. But did she need to give face to anyone? Little monkey, you're still as mischievous as ever. But thank you, Tang Jingxian said in seriousness. I'm always willing to risk my life for my friends. Tang Jingxian turned his head and looked at Su Qingyan. He suddenly felt his heart ache. He thought about the time she was beaten up at the Su family home, and the time she was powerless to fight back. Who would stab themselves in the back for her? Chapter 547. From now on, if you have any difficulties, you can always look for me, Tang Jingxian said in seriousness. No matter what it is. Okay. Su Qingyan nodded her head. It seemed she never expected that she would one day need Tang Jingshuan's help. After this incident, Su Qingyan and Tang Jingshuan's names once again shook the entertainment industry. After all, Song Yinshu and Tang Jingxian used to have a close relationship, but now, they were like fire and water. Anyone with a discerning eye could naturally tell that Song Yinshu's fiancé was obviously trying to humiliate Tang Jingxian at her engagement ceremony. Unfortunately, Tang Jingxian happened to have Su Qingyan with him that day. In the end, he ended up going for wool and coming home shorn. Su Qingyan caused a huge scene at the engagement ceremony. Entertainment news was everywhere and photos of Tang Jingxian and Su Qingyan were published everywhere. Perhaps this did not affect Tang Jingxian at all, but for Su Qingyan, it was a disaster. Father Su felt that he had embarrassed himself. So he locked Su Qingyan up at home, and even got someone to lock up her room. Meanwhile, at Hyatt Regency, Tang Jingxian was drinking soup with Tongning. After this incident, I don't think you and Yinshu will ever cross paths again, Tongning asked as she looked down at Tang Jingxian. At first, grandfather thought that you were fated to be together. But it turns out, there are some things that I was lucky to have realized earlier. I won't deny Yinshu as a person, but I can't agree with her love life. Sis, I know what you are trying to say, Tang Jingxian replied in seriousness. In that case, let's talk about Su Qingyan. I've read all of the newspapers and watched all of her videos. She has been extremely kind to her old classmate. She's quite cute. Tang Jingxian couldn't help but laugh. She doesn't put on any airs and is filled with righteousness. She obviously. At this point he suddenly paused. He suddenly realized that an entire day had passed, and there had been no news from Su Qingyan. Now that your news is so hot, you should stand up and deal with it. I heard that her father is not a loving father. Don't let other girls stand up for you, but she has no one to protect her. Thinking about how Father Su had tortured Su Qingyan, Tang Jingxian suddenly put down his bowl and chopsticks. He stood up and grabbed his jacket from the sofa. Sis, I'm going out for a moment. Tongning knew where he was going, so she did not stop him. She simply smiled. There were some things that needed to be experienced to find out who was the most suitable. Tang Jingxian had never considered Father Su's problem. Now that he thought about it, Su Qingyan must have been scolded by Father Su for not getting through to her and not replying to his messages. Therefore, he sped up the car and rushed to the Su residence. However, when he arrived, he remembered that he didn't have a key, so the only way he knew how to get in was to climb over the wall. Su Qingyan never imagined that she would see Tang Jingxian under such circumstances. She watched as he followed the pipe and tapped on the glass of her room. Are you crazy? Go down, it's too dangerous. Locked up? Tang Jingxian easily hugged the pipe and asked, do you want to leave? I'll take you out. Su Qingyan looked out the door cautiously and then looked out the window. No, I can't get out. Miss Su, you've climbed over the walls of the school dormitory before. Now that you've grown up, have you become timid? If I run away like this, my card will also be locked up. Seeing that Su Qingyan was truly anxious, Tang Jingxian couldn't help but laugh. I really don't understand you. You're still worried about your card at a time like this. It's fine, you can stay at my place. You want to live with me? What are you thinking about? I'm staying at the Tang residence. Tang Jingxian couldn't hold on any longer, so he urged, hurry and come out, I can't hold on for much longer. Su Qingyan thought for a moment before she gritted her teeth and climbed out the window. In reality, her movements were even more efficient than Tang Jingxuan's. Tang Jingxian was stunned. It was hard to imagine that an heiress like her could climb over the wall so easily. Father Su had obviously put in a lot of effort into teaching Su Qingyan etiquette. Unfortunately, the little monkey still preferred to be free. It didn't take long before the couple slipped out the front door. As soon as they boarded the car, they couldn't help but burst into laughter. That was quite exciting. I never thought my skills would be this good. Did your father hit you again? Tang Jingxian noticed the injuries on Su Qingyan's body, no matter how hard she tried to hide them. I've long since become an iron wall, Su Qingyan said as she patted her chest and changed the subject. So where are we going now? Where do you want to go? Tang Jingxian asked. Why don't we go to the primary school we attended? Don't go, it's embarrassing. Su Qingyan waved her hands. Qingyan, be honest with me. After you escape, if you return, what will your father do to you? Tang Jingxian knew that behind Su Qingyan's smile, there must be a deeper hurt, so he asked directly. Don't try to brush me off. Answer me honestly. Seeing Tang Jingxian being so serious, Su Qingyan felt a little uncomfortable. What can he do to me? I am, after all, his blood runs through my veins. After hearing this, Tang Jingxian grabbed onto her wrist and revealed her arm covered in bruises, both old and new. Your father used to be a violent person. The entire school knows about this. I thought that after so many years, he would have changed. Don't make a big deal out of it. I'm fine, Su Qingyan said as she freed herself from his grip. After all these years, why haven't you thought about leaving your father? Hatred is hatred, but blood cannot be severed. I can't watch as that woman cheats my father out of everything, Su Qingyan replied in a serious tone. Even though I've been thinking every single day that I should just leave like this. I should go to a place where no one can find me and live a life of my own for a few days. But Tang Jingxian understood the pain in her heart, so he directly drove her to a private hospital. You can't go anywhere right now. Let me see how many injuries you have. Let me do something for you, even if it's just a little. This time, Su Qingyan did not insist. She knew that there was no way she could reject the current Tang Jingxian. So she allowed the doctor to examine her body. However, no one expected that after receiving the results, the doctor would directly ask Su Qingyan, Who was so cruel to you that you have over 50 new and old injuries on your body? Chapter 548. Over 50 wounds? Tang Jingxian froze. Although he knew Su Qingyan's injuries weren't light, he didn't expect them to be this serious. Over 50 wounds. How cruel did a father have to be so cruel to his own daughter? Although they are all external injuries, her body is still made of flesh and blood. Doctor, please give me some medicine. Tang Jingxian knew the doctor was shocked. After all, Su Qingyan was only a child, but she was an adult. If a normal adult was being tortured like this, wouldn't she retaliate? But others might not know, but Tang Jingxian knew that Su Qingyan had no choice. So he interrupted the doctor's anger. The doctor took a deep breath and nodded his head. The patient should get some rest. Throughout the entire process, Su Qingyan either looked away or pretended to have her hair tied up. Stop pretending, I won't ask any questions. Since we are old classmates, I won't sit by and do nothing. How can I comfort your father so he doesn't hit you again? It's not like you don't know how violent he can be. The most serious time he hit me was when he made me lose control of my bladder, Su Qingyan said with a half-smile. She acted like the person she was talking about had nothing to do with her. Lose control of his bladder. Tang Jingxian found it hard to imagine. There have been many times when I've actually picked up a knife and tried to take him down with me. But I've failed every time. At this moment, Su Qingyan said calmly as Tang Jingxian stood by the bedside with his arms crossed. By the way, you should quickly find a place to hide me. If I cause any more trouble, I will be in an even worse state. There's no point in running away, Tang Jingxian said as he rubbed his chin. What do you want to do? Nothing. Hurry and get some rest. Tang Jingxian sat down on the sofa. He needed to think about the consequences of suddenly interfering with someone else's life. I can't sleep. Watch Stupid with me again. W.H. is still in theaters and the online cinema hasn't been released yet. Tang Jingxian did not say a word. He simply pulled out his phone and gave Tongning a phone call. Have you found her? Tongning asked despite knowing the answer. Yes, sis. Originally, I was supposed to return to the US tomorrow, but from the looks of it, I won't be able to leave tomorrow. I want to help Qingyan. You can make your own decisions. Is there a need to ask me? Tongning asked in amusement. Go ahead and do whatever you want, even if you have to bleed. Got it. After speaking, Tang Jingxian wanted to hang up the phone. But, remembering that Su Qingyan had mentioned that she wanted to watch W.H., he quickly held her back. Sis, where can I get the resources for W.H.? Qingyan wants to watch it now, but we can't go to the cinema. Fine, Luce. Then Tang Jingxian came back to his senses and quietly hung up. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Wait. In reality, Tang Jingxian had never done anything romantic for a woman before. But for some reason, seeing Su Qingyan like this, he felt an urge to give the world to her. After all, they had known each other since they were young, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were old friends. An hour later, a tablet appeared in the hospital room. Tongning's newest film, W.H., was playing on the screen. Tang Jingxian sat on the bed with a serious expression as Su Qingyan leaned against him. Not only that, he even held a bag of popcorn in his hands. No one has ever treated me so well. From now on, I will definitely do anything for you. Who needs you to do anything for me? Tang Jingxian scoffed in disdain. So that night, countless movies passed by. No other relationship was as pure as the two of them. A man and a woman actually spent the entire night watching a movie together. No one would believe them if they told others. The next morning, Tang Jingxian escorted Su Qingyan out of the hospital. After they boarded the car, Su Qingyan asked, "Where are we going?" "You will find out in a bit." Su Qingyan did not ask any further. After all, Tang Jingxian would never betray her. So she closed her eyes and got some rest. Seeing that Su Qingyan trusted him so much, Tang Jingxuan's lips curved upwards as he led Su Qingyan back to the Su household. Seeing the front door, Su Qingyan's face turned pale. Tang Jingxian comforted her. "Trust me, okay? Jingxian. Let's go." Tang Jingxian helped Su Qingyan out of the car. Since the incident had already gotten out of hand, it didn't matter anymore. Since she was going to get beaten up sooner or later, what was there to avoid? In that case, let's go. Tang Jingxian looked at Su Qingyan and felt that this little monkey was quite silly. She was completely defenseless against someone she was familiar with. Even though she knew there was a fire pit in front of her, she still willingly jumped in. It didn't take long before the couple entered the Su household's living room. At this time, Father Su and Yilan were having breakfast in the dining room. Where did you go last night? Why didn't you return home? Father Su asked as he turned to Su Qingyan. Of course he ignored Tang Jingxian. The hospital, Tang Jingxian replied. Fourth Master Tang, this is a family matter. Qingyan, go upstairs and get some rest. I need to have a chat with Uncle, Tang Jingxian said as he pushed Su Qingyan away. I never said that my daughter could leave. Go ahead. Leave it to me. Tang Jingxian ignored Father Su's authority. Although the two families were partners, Tongning had caused Yilan to lose the Fei Tian Awards, so Father Su was still upset. So he never expected that Tang Jingxian would throw himself at him. Of course Yilan, who was sitting beside Father Su, acknowledged Tang Jingxuan's charisma, but she did not approve of his courage. After all, the Tang family already had the omnipotent Tongning, so she did not believe that Tang Jingxian could save Su Qingyan. Wasn't he just asking to be humiliated? Su Qingyan was extremely worried. But seeing Tang Jingxuan's determination, she decided to take a gamble as she headed upstairs and entered her room. Fourth young Master Tang, you're not qualified to negotiate with me. Go back, don't embarrass yourself here. I have Qingyan's injury report in my hands, Tang Jingxian replied calmly. Uncle Su, I'm sure you're aware that the Tang family likes to appear in the headlines. If the public finds out that the chairman of Su Corps has been abusing his own daughter, how much do you think Su Corps' shares will drop? After hearing Tang Jingxuan's words, Father Su sneered. Are you threatening me? You're too inexperienced. If you have the ability, go ahead and expose me. Did you think I would be afraid? Don't forget, Su Qingyan is my daughter. This is something that will never change, even in death. If this is your trump card, then I've overestimated you. Since I'm here, I'm not going to let things go so easily. Uncle Su, I simply feel that everyone should take a step back, Tang Jingxian laughed. Chapter 549. Papa Su gave Tang Jingxian a look that said, You think you can fight me? And looked at him in utter disdain. Which step? I don't care if I take Tang Corps' business. To put it bluntly, I can terminate the contract at any time. Tang Corps is currently managed by my sister. I have no right to use Tang Corps to show off in front of Uncle Su. So let's talk about the matter at hand. I know that Uncle Su has enjoyed working out over the years, and I happen to know some martial arts. So, why don't we have a spar? Father Su looked at Tang Jingxian with interest. You should know that I've been practicing Muay Thai for 20 years. That's why Qingyan has so many old injuries, I know, Tang Jingxian nodded. Aren't you afraid that I'll beat you to death? I don't even know who will win, Tang Jingxian replied with a smile. Since you want to die, then come with me. Father Su's interest was piqued as he put down his bowl and chopsticks and led Tang Jingxian to his training room. Over the years, he had maintained the habit of practicing Muay Thai in order to maintain his figure and youth. Even though, in many aspects, he was still lacking. Of course, as Father Su's woman, Yilan was well aware of this. What do you want to play with me? Father Su asked as he pointed to the empty stage. Let's do Muay Thai. Tang Jingxian removed his jacket and casually threw it on the ground. He was only wearing a thin shirt. If I win from today onwards, you can no longer lay a hand on Qingyan. And if I win? Father Su humphed. You can do whatever you want to me. Father Su looked at Tang Jingxian deeply. Although he did not change his mind, he realized that the fourth master of the Tang family was not only good at living off a woman and singing, but if he wanted to win against him, he was still too young. Tang Jingxian knew what Father Su was thinking, but he did not say anything. The two men jumped onto the stage barehanded. Tang Jingxian could immediately tell that Father Su was indeed a martial artist. What? It's not too late to admit defeat. Fourth Master Tang, you need to think this through. Su Qingyan is my daughter. Is it worth it for you to let me beat you up for my daughter? Do it, Tang Jingxian said. Papa Su had always been a thug. Be it in business or family, he had always wanted to be an emperor who ruled over others. Therefore, his fists were fast and ruthless, with astonishing speed and strength. Tang Jingxian quickly dodged, and was almost hit in the nose by Papa Su. Even Papa Su was surprised by that one move, because no one had ever dodged his fists so quickly. Even his friends who had trained with him for many years sometimes could not avoid his attack. But Tang Jingxian actually dodged it? Interesting. Regardless of whether it was Tang Jingxian himself, or the reason why they fought, Tang Jingxian had indeed practiced martial arts before, and could be considered an influential figure in school. However, he was still young, and not as experienced as Father Su. After just a few moves, he was already sweating profusely, unable to take it. Papa Su took the opportunity to launch a barrage of punches. In the end, Tang Jingxian was beaten to the ground. But he had no intention of lowering his head or admitting defeat. In fact, he jumped up without a care for his life and pressed Papa Su onto the ground. He was like an angry leopard as his entire body exuded an aura that could tear a person apart. Papa Su's mouth was broken by Tang Jingxian, but he was extremely satisfied. He hated gentlemen. If Tang Jingxian had directly admitted defeat, he would have looked down on him for the rest of his life. But, seeing that Tang Jingxian was so desperate to win, Papa Su smiled and said, "You've won. I admit defeat." Tang Jingxian panted as he sat to one side. After quite some time, he finally asked Papa Su, "Are you telling the truth? At least you have some guts. If Qingyan fought back like you did, she wouldn't have needed to be beaten a long time ago." After speaking, Papa Su wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and left the practice room. However, Tang Jingxian did not understand what Papa Su meant. At this time, Su Qingyan paced back and forth in the room. She had no idea how Tang Jingxian was doing. Or had he already been eaten up by her father? Su Qingyan wanted to sneak out and have a look. But at this time, Father Su suddenly pushed open the door. At this moment, Su Qingyan's body tensed up as she looked at Papa Su cautiously. However, to Su Qingyan's surprise, Papa Su did not make a move on her. The rascal from the Tang family is quite daring. Tidy yourself up and come down for breakfast. Su Qingyan looked like she had seen a ghost. She had never spoken to Papa Su in such a gentle manner before. How did Tang Jingxian do it? I heard that the two of you used to be classmates. For a classmate to go this far is not bad. But if you want to become my son-in-law, I can accept it. Su Qingyan was dumbfounded. Classmate and son-in-law. What was this all about? Father Su glanced at Su Qingyan and did not say another word. Of course, Su Qingyan did not think too deeply into the matter. It didn't take long before the couple returned to the living room. This time, Tang Jingxian was also sitting at the dining table. However, his face was covered in wounds. "Jingxian, it's fine. This is the sign of a mature man." Tang Jingxian smiled as he pushed away Su Qingyan's hand. He then whispered in her ear, "Actually, I still have a trump card that I haven't used yet. It is that stepmother of yours. But let me practice a little more despicable before I give it a try. How many times did my father hit you? Your father didn't gain much either." Tang Jingxian glanced at Father Su's bite wounds. Tang Jingxian glanced at Father Su's wounds. "I don't think your father will bully you for the time being, so you don't need to worry." "Stop mumbling. Don't think I didn't hear you." Father Su glared at the couple. "I admit, I am a little violent, but that is just the way I am. This is how I express myself. Qingyan, it doesn't matter if you are used to it or if you want to kill me. This is how I am and I can't change." Second Elder, have you forgotten what you promised me? Yi Lan, who had been silent for quite some time, suddenly said to Father Su. "You promised me that between your daughter and me, you would always choose me. But what about now? Are you planning to reconcile with your daughter?" "Reconcile?" Father Su looked at Yi Lan questioningly. "When did I say something like that? I still place you first. Su Qingyan is my daughter. I can hit her and scold her whenever I want. If someone wants to stand up for me, that would depend on whether they have the ability to do so. Chapter 550. If this was the ancient times, a person like Father Su would definitely be considered an ambitious and ruthless person. He was violent and paranoid. Even when dealing with his own daughter, he did not show any mercy. Yet, when it came to Yilan, he was extremely obedient. If that was the case, then Su Qingyan was the loser in this battle. After all, to Father Su she was dispensable. Su Qingyan's face turned pale as her hands trembled as she held onto her cutlery. If I wasn't afraid that this woman would trick you into losing everything, I would have left a long time ago. Oh, are you worried about me, or are you worried about your inheritance? Su Qingyan, let me tell you, I built Sucor from scratch. I can give it to whoever I want. Even if I were to donate it all, you would have no choice but to watch, Father Su said in a heartless manner. You are forcing me to die with this woman, Su Qingyan said as she pointed to Yilan. If you want to die, then go ahead and die. Don't drag my wife down with you. Father Su replied without lifting his head. After speaking, he put down his knife and fork and gently took a sip of red wine. The atmosphere suddenly froze. Su Qingyan could only hold back her tears. As she tried to maintain her composure, she swallowed them back into her stomach. Seeing this, Tang Jingxian suddenly stood up and said to Su Qingyan, "Come with me now. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to control myself." Can you win? Father Su asked in ridicule. You won't gain much from this either, Tang Jingxian scoffed. Su Qingyan sat in her seat without moving an inch. Qingyan. Su Qingyan did not say a word for quite some time. At this time, Yilan looked at Su Qingyan with a victorious smile. Su Qingyan took a deep breath and rejected Tang Jingshuan's suggestion. This is my home. I'm not going anywhere else. What are you thinking? I simply want you to come out with me for some fresh air. After speaking, Tang Jingxian directly dragged Su Qingyan out of the living room. However, at this time, Yilan's voice sounded from behind them. Come back early. There are still a pile of clothes waiting for you to deal with. I'm worried about the servants. Tang Jingxian pretended not to hear anything as he covered Su Qingyan's ears. It wasn't until they boarded the car that Tang Jingxian held onto Su Qingyan's shoulder and asked, How many years have you been like this? She's been married since she was 20, Su Qingyan replied. You've never thought of a way to deal with him? No matter what I do, it's my fault. Is there a need to do this? You've already done enough for me today. Jingxian, you don't need to offend my father because of me. After all, Tang Kor and Su Kor still need to work together. Little monkey, I'm sure you've tried your best. But there's one thing you haven't tried yet. Tang Jingxian suddenly had an idea as he winked at Su Qingyan. What do you mean? Tang Jingxian did not say a word. He simply started up the car and sped towards their destination with Su Qingyan. As long as it required physical strength, he could make a move. However, he was naturally afraid of scheming. Even though he had been in the entertainment industry for a long time, he was still not good at strategizing. But this person could. So Tang Jingxian directly drove Su Qingyan to Hyatt Regency. Mo Ting was at work, so Tongning and a maid were the only ones in the house. To prevent anyone from seeing her stomach, Tongning once again covered it with a pillow. Sis, help Qingyan out. Do you want me to treat the injuries on your faces first? Tongning gestured for Tang Jingxian to get her a first aid kit. As she applied medicine, she asked, Speak, what do you want me to do? After spending some time, Tang Jingxian briefly explained the love-hate relationship between Su Qingyan and Yilan. Of course, the injuries on Su Qingyan's body were the best evidence. If it was just Father Su, things might have been easier to deal with. But Yilan was now involved. Is this Yilan the female lead of Survive? The one that lost to me? Tongning suddenly remembered. Aha, Tang Jingxian nodded. But I don't want to get involved in other people's family matters. Tongning shook her head. Although they were business partners, they weren't that familiar with each other. Use your brain. Qingyan is covered in injuries. Why don't you use your own brain? Tongning asked with a smile. I'm not good at scheming. Sis, don't make things difficult for me. I can promise you in other ways. Tang Jingxian replied helplessly. Tang Jingxian said helplessly, if I had this ability, I wouldn't have ended up like this. Tongning could tell that Tang Jingxian was thinking about the past, so she waved her hand and said, you can leave. Miss Su, stay. As soon as Tang Jingxian heard this, he knew he had a chance. So he immediately stood up and left confidently. Afterwards, all that was left in the living room was Tongning and Su Qingyan. Tongning looked deeply into Su Qingyan's eyes and said with a slightly serious expression, my intuition tells me that you won't hurt Jingxian. I can help you. After all, I have some things to settle with Yilan. But Ningjia. Yilan has my father's support. I've already thought of countless ways to deal with her, but every time, I end up being tortured even more. That's because you are passive. Tongning directly pointed out the crux of the problem. Ningjia, please help me. I really want to kick this cockroach out of my home. Tongning thought for a moment and nodded her head. I can give it a try. Actually, so what if Father Su was violent? As long as one was human, it was impossible for them to not have a weakness. Since they had a weakness, there was always a way to defeat them. As for Yilan, she still had not gotten even with Yilan for framing her. Qingyan, you need to remember, the reason you are staying in the Su family home is because you are your father's daughter, not because you don't want him to get hurt. Since he's using his status to pressure you, then as your father and you have Su Enterprises shares in your hands, you can also do the opposite. Don't be afraid of getting hit. If you are willing to be arrogant, your father may not hit you. As for Yilan, there are many ways you can anger her to death. After hearing a few simple words from Tongning, Su Qingyan immediately understood the difference between her and Tongning. This was the difference between an expert and an amateur. By the way, go and change your image. Be strong. Let me do the talking and you do the talking. Let's give it a try. Tongning smiled at Su Qingyan. I know you've helped Jingxian before. Couldn't subdue Father Su? Couldn't deal with Yilan? Impossible. Chapter 551. To complement Su Kor's business status, no matter how much Su Qingyan disliked it, she had to follow Father Su's instructions and transform herself into an elegant socialite. After so many years, it had been a long time since Su Qingyan had studied what was suitable for her and what the current generation of girls liked. She was the face of Su Kor. Since getting along with your father won't change anything and you will still get beaten up, then dress yourself up the way you like. There's no need to put yourself through everything. Tongning patiently explained to Su Qingyan like a mentor. Su Qingyan thought for a moment and realized that Tongning's words made sense. But at the same time, she was a little annoyed. She was annoyed that she had disguised herself for so many years. Afterwards, Tongning asked Lu Che to arrange for a stylist to be sent to Hyatt Regency. I've been using this makeup team for a long time. You can try them out in the future. Su Qingyan remembered Tongning's words and looked down at her seaweed-like hair. I'll leave it to you. I trust in your professionalism. The stylists smiled and nodded their heads before they got to work on Su Qingyan. Sensing that Su Qingyan was a little nervous, Tongning shifted her heavy body and asked, is there anyone that your father is afraid of? Or, is there anyone that he is afraid of? Grandfather, Su Qingyan replied without hesitation. My father is afraid of grandfather. What about your grandfather? He is on a private island, but it's not too far from Beijing. It's only a 2-hour drive away, Su Qingyan replied as she sat up straight. Give me the address. I'll send Jingxian to pick you up. Su Qingyan nodded her head before she found her grandfather's address on her phone and handed it to Tongning. While Su Qingyan was surrounded by the stylists, Tongning covered her stomach as she stood up and helped Su Qingyan arrange everything. She then stood on the second floor and said to Su Qingyan, I'm in the study room. When you're done, give me a call. Actually, because Tongning was pregnant, she had become sleepy and needed some rest. Su Qingyan had no idea that Tongning was in such a state. Even she herself quickly fell asleep under the care of the stylists. But 3 hours later, Su Qingyan was woken up by the stylist. As soon as she opened her eyes, she was shocked. The woman in the mirror was completely different from the woman she used to be. In the past, even though she was adorned with jewels, she dressed like a socialite and didn't have her own personality. But now, her slightly curly short hair made the contours of her face look very three-dimensional. With her charming makeup, her pair of peach blossom eyes were finally put to good use. A smart and stylish suit, as well as a pair of delicate and special black high heels. Miss Su, are you satisfied? Su Qingyan had never seen herself like this, a version of herself with such a strong personality. Yes, if you were a little more confident and relaxed when walking, it would be even more perfect. Hearing the stylist's words, Su Qingyan smiled and nodded her head. As for Tongning, who was standing at the top, she looked down at the woman below and was suddenly reminded of her past self. How many times had she tried to please Han Yufan, but in the end, women in the end had to be self-reliant. Only then would people cherish you. Regardless of whether it was for lovers or relatives, this principle could be applied. So, why did Tongning involuntarily agree to help Su Qingyan? Actually, there was another important reason. She felt like she had seen a shadow of herself in Su Qingyan. But they were different. After all, not everyone could use their intelligence to fight back when they were under pressure. Meanwhile, Yilan was sitting at home casually munching on melon seeds as she threw the shells all over the place. She knew that Su Qingyan had never been able to disobey her father's orders. So, it wouldn't be long before she returned to work obediently. The kitchen maid looked at Yilan helplessly. She obviously knew that Yilan was doing this on purpose. After all, this wasn't the first time she had done this. Every time, Su Qingyan ended up getting punished by Father Su. How despicable. I really want to kick this woman out of the Su family. What are you mumbling about? Yilan seemed to have heard what the kitchen maid said as she turned her head and looked at her coldly. Do you not want this job anymore? If you don't want it, you can leave right now. The kitchen maid did not expect to be implicated. So she removed her apron and threw it on the floor. You shameless vixen. Did you think I wanted to stay here? Get lost. The kitchen maid felt wronged as she left with tears in her eyes. At this time, Father Su walked into the living room with some documents in his hands and asked, "What happened?" Yilan exaggerated the situation, and Father Su immediately said to the kitchen maid, "Get lost. From now on, you will never be able to find a job again. You are fired." The kitchen maid looked at Father Su in shock. Just as she was about to plead for leniency, a stunning figure in black suddenly attracted the attention of the three people in the living room. Father Su was a little surprised. He had never seen Su Qingyan look so beautiful. Meanwhile, Yilan was jealous. After all, when it came to beauty, she and Su Qingyan were never on the same level. Plus, Su Qingyan's current appearance looked like it was tailor-made for her. I can't just fire my people, Su Qingyan said calmly to Father Su. You've become prettier. Father Su scanned Su Qingyan's body for a while. He suddenly felt that all these years of watching his daughter had gone to waste. How could she be this beautiful? Aren't you going to get lost? Yilan threw her anger at the kitchen maid. At this time, Su Qingyan raised her voice. I told you, I can't just fire my people. Hearing this, Yilan furrowed her eyebrows as a playful smile appeared on her face. She suddenly felt that Su Qingyan had grown a lot of courage to speak to her in such a manner. Su Qingyan, did you think that you have the final say in this family? Don't forget. Your father has already told me that as long as I say the word, he can beat you to death. Really? Su Qingyan asked with a smile. In reality, she was extremely nervous. After all, she had never spoken in such an aggressive manner in front of her father and Yilan before. So, she wasn't confident at all. Yilan scoffed as she crossed her arms and walked over to Su Qingyan. She looked at her coldly. I think I need to teach you a lesson on behalf of your unfortunate mother. Otherwise, you won't know that this is the Su family. I am the madam, and you can only call me mother. After speaking, she swung her hand towards Su Qingyan. Chapter 552. Su Qingyan did not take things lying down like she usually did. Instead, She grabbed onto Yilan's wrist and glared at her fiercely. It was like they wanted to tear each other apart. Yilan, don't go overboard. I invited Auntie Zhang here. You have no right to fire her. Su Qingyan, you sure are strange. You obviously know your status in this family, yet you can't learn a painful lesson, Yilan smirked. Don't tell me you haven't been beaten up enough? After hearing this, Su Qingyan's eyes filled with hatred. She knew that half of the injuries on her body were caused by this woman entering the family and sowing discord in her father's ears. As a result, Father Su became even more violent towards her. But, hubby, tell me, whose side are you on? Yilan asked Father Su with a look of ridicule. She was well aware of Su Qingyan's status in this family. Father Su did not say a word. He simply walked over to the couple and threw a slap across the left side of Su Qingyan's face. 5 red handprints immediately appeared on Su Qingyan's delicate face. The force of the slap was so strong that blood began to trickle down the corner of Su Qingyan's lips. Apologize to your mother. I am your daughter. I gave birth to you, so I can easily strangle you to death. I can have more children, but I only have one Yilan. There weren't many people in this world that could say something like this to their own daughter. I've given you wealth and status. What have you done for me as a daughter? Father Su questioned coldly. You might as well have given birth to a piece of trash. Su Qingyan tried her best to hold back her tears of humiliation. Father Su's words struck her heart again and again. But this time she did not say a word. She simply looked at Father Su bravely. She looked at the father that she once thought could be saved. But apart from hatred, there was nothing else she could do. That's because you yourself are a piece of trash. Su Qingyan deliberately provoked him, so Father Su once again raised his hand. But before his slap landed, he saw a white-haired old man dressed in a black suit standing in the doorway. He glared at Father Su angrily. Dad, why are you here? Old man Su said nothing, but his footsteps were heavy. Step by step, he walked up to Papa Su and slapped him across the face 3 times. Papa Su's face immediately turned red and swollen. Even my dog doesn't bite its own cubs, and you're worse than a dog? Papa Su stared at old Su in shock. It was the first time he had been hit by the old man after so many years. Dad! Elder Su glared fiercely at Father Su before he led his 2 bodyguards over to the sofa and sat down. He then smashed the box that Yilan was previously munching on melon seeds onto the floor. I may not have been involved in the affairs of the world for many years, but it doesn't mean that the world belongs to you. Second brother, didn't I tell you that if you remarried, your second wife would not receive a single cent from the Su family? Papa Su did not say anything. He simply looked up at Yilan. Elder Su also noticed Papa Su's expression, so he turned to look at Yilan. Since you are second brother's new wife, shouldn't you offer me a cup of tea? Yilan froze for a moment. It seemed this was also her first time meeting Elder Su. But she did not dare to slack off. At the same time, she hoped that Elder Su would accept her. Yilan carefully placed the cup of tea in front of Elder Su. However, Elder Su glared at her. Don't you know the rules? Yilan held back her displeasure as she picked up the cup of tea and handed it back to Elder Su. However, at this moment a scream was heard. Ah! Yilan's upper body was scalded by the teacup that Elder Su had thrown at her. Who do you think you are? How dare you treat my granddaughter like this? Instead of being an actress, you decided to collude with that monster. At this moment, Yilan no longer cared about what Elder Su had said. All she knew was that her entire body was on fire as she turned to Father Su for help. Hubby, hurry and help me, help me. Just as Father Su was about to step forward to help her up, Elder Su yelled at him. You bastard, I dare you to try and save her. Hearing this, Father Su did not know what to say. All he could do was watch as Yilan was humiliated. Hubby, save me. I still need to continue filming. I can't allow myself to be disfigured. I still need to win an award. Yilan's cries echoed throughout the living room. But even so, Father Su did not have the courage to step forward to save her. If you dare to save her, I will cut all ties with you. Don't even think about taking a single cent out of Su Core, Elder Su threatened. Old man Su threatened Papa Su. I really didn't expect you to treat my granddaughter like this. Normally, Father Su would not have tolerated this. But the man standing in front of him was the father that had hit him for half his life. He had no way of resisting. From today onwards, I will officially move in here. I would like to see if you can skin Qingyan alive. Father, this is my family's business. Fine, if you want me to stay out of it, that's fine. I'm not a petty person. Elder Su did not give Father Su any face. As long as you take that woman and leave without taking a single cent from Su Kor, I won't care about anything else. Father Su did not say another word. In order to protect himself, he allowed Yilan to lie on the floor and moan in pain for quite some time. Yilan glared at Father Su. No matter how sweet a man's words were, it still depended on a crucial moment like this. But what did Father Su do? He threw her to one side without a second thought. From your reaction, it seems you want to continue living together, right? Fine, but second brother, you better prepare yourself. I just overheard you saying hurtful words to that actress, so I am extremely disappointed and angry. So while I'm at home, I won't be giving you any face. After speaking, Elder Su turned to Su Qingyan and smiled. Qingyan, come to grandfather. This time, Su Qingyan was not afraid as she approached the old man. From now on, you will pay back the way that woman caused you trouble in the past. I don't want you to be kind. I want you to be able to protect yourself. As for those that bully me, I will make them understand what it means to pay back double. Speak. You can make your request to that woman right now. Chapter 553. After hearing this, Yilan glanced at Su Qingyan. She had been spoiled since she was young and had started her career as a child star. So Yilan's methods were typical of the entertainment industry, including bullying and humiliating others. Over the years, she had schemed and plotted against Su Qingyan. Perhaps, even she didn't know how many schemes and plots she had used. Now the tables had turned. Although Yilan appeared calm on the surface, she was secretly panicking. Elder Su did not visit the family home often, so he had never noticed anything. But this time, Elder Su had personally witnessed the couple bullying Su Qingyan. It seemed she was going to suffer a little. Father Su and the others looked at Su Qingyan, waiting for her answer. However, after quite some time, Su Qingyan finally replied, I'm fine. Father Su and Yilan were both stunned. According to Su Qingyan's personality, she would never say something like this. I'm fine. If these words were used in another household, they would be enough to end a war. But this was the Su family home. How much did you suffer to cover up for that slut? After speaking, Elder Su said to Yilan, You. Come here. Yilan froze for a moment as she looked at Father Su helplessly. However, Father Su merely furrowed his brows. He had no way of resisting his father's orders. Yilan had no choice but to approach Elder Su. Elder Su raised his hand and threw a slap at her. But he didn't end it with a single slap. He continued to hit her as he lectured her. You can't even be considered an actress. How dare you bully a descendant of the Su family? I allowed you to marry into the family so that I could take care of them. Yet, you allowed the descendant of the Su family to be bullied by you. After being slapped 5 times in a row, Yilan was so angry that she could barely stand straight. Her head was already buzzing with noise. Afterwards, Elder Su said to Father Su, If you dare to touch my granddaughter again, you will be kicked out of the Su family home. This was Su Qingyan's first time. Seeing a scene like this, in a home where she had been beaten up all over the place, she couldn't believe that her violent father and Yilan would experience the same thing. She couldn't help but feel a sense of joy in her heart. In the past, she had tried to ask for help, but Papa Su managed to fool him every time. So this time, with Tang Ning's idea and Tang Jingshuan's help, she finally understood what it meant to be domineering, and to give an eye for an eye. Father Su did not say a word. He simply looked at Su Qingyan from behind. It was like he had never met his daughter before. As for Yilan, apart from her swollen face, all she felt towards Su Qingyan was hatred. However, this was not something that Su Qingyan cared about. In this family, Su Qingyan no longer needed to please anyone. Because the more she tried to please them, the less important her position in the family became. Her main task now was to think of all kinds of ways to turn things around. Yan Yan, do you feel better? Elder Su asked lovingly after teaching Su Qingyan a lesson. As Su Qingyan resembled her grandmother, Elder Su felt an indescribable sense of guilt towards her. So whenever he was around her, he would always take good care of her. Thank you, grandfather, Qingyan is fine. In other words, she wasn't fine. That meant, she wasn't comfortable enough. Elder Su's expression darkened as he turned to look at the two people beside him without saying another word. What he was trying to say was, they had plenty of time in the future. Since he was going to move in soon, there was no way he wouldn't be able to deal with a slut. Of course, Father Su was a little surprised by Su Qingyan's uncharacteristic response. According to Su Qingyan's personality, there was no way she would be so shrewd and calculative. She was never one to beat around the bush. But, let's go and have some food with grandfather. He's still hungry. Father Su's face was covered in dust from the lesson. All he could do was watch as the grandfather and granddaughter left and rush over to help Yilan up. However, Yilan simply glared at Father Su and pushed him to the side. Afterwards, Su Qingyan met up with Tang Jingxian. As soon as they boarded the car, Su Qingyan held onto her stomach and laughed. That felt so good. I've never felt so good before. Ningjie is amazing. Did you also get slapped? Tang Jingxian asked as he looked at the finger marks on her face. This is what they call, you can't catch a wolf without sacrificing the child. Only after grandfather witnessed this scene with his own eyes would he be determined to teach those two a lesson. Su Qingyan did not care about the finger marks on her face. Su Qingyan did not care about the finger marks on her face. It was so satisfying. Especially Yilan. Jingxian, thank you for picking up grandfather so quickly. Little monkey. Su Qingyan took a deep breath and smiled at Tang Jingxian. Don't worry, I'm fine. I may not be as amazing as Ningjie, but I have my own value. Jingxian, I'm quite envious of you. You have someone like Ningjie backing you up. Tang Jingxian put away his pained expression and sighed. What you see is only on the surface. My sister is naturally invincible, but that's all because my brother-in-law allows her to do so. Are you referring to President Mo? Su Qingyan immediately thought of the dignified, king-like man. He's even scarier. After speaking, Tang Jingxian directly drove off with Su Qingyan in his car. I'll take you to dinner as a reward for your beauty today. You and Ningjie have helped me so much. I want to repay you. Tang Jingxian glanced at her as he drove. We don't lack anything. Don't you have any worries? As soon as the word worries was mentioned, Tang Jingxian thought about it carefully. Over the past 2 days, because of Su Qingyan, he had no time to think about anything else. In fact, he even felt happy whenever Su Qingyan was happy. If I want to defeat your father and Yilan, it won't be easy. I know. I will learn from Ningjie. By the way, aren't you going to the US? In reality, they had already missed the registration deadline. Tang Jingxian thought to himself that some things might be predestined by the heavens. However, Tang Jingxian did not say anything. He simply drove Su Qingyan to the hotel. But, just as they were about to place their orders, Tang Jingshuan's phone began to ring. Tang Jingxian pulled out his phone and froze. He knew whose number it was. Pick it up. Tang Jingxian glanced at Su Qingyan and picked up the phone. However, the first thing he said was, How did you know my number? Ningjie gave it to me. Jingxian, can you give me some time? I'll bring someone to meet with you. Tang Jingxian originally wanted to refuse, but since Tongning had given her permission, it meant it was for work. So he asked, When? Where are you? I'll come look for you. Tang Jingxian glanced at Su Qingyan one more time before telling her where they were at the moment. Song Yanshu will be coming over in a moment, Tang Jingxian said as he put down his phone. Chapter 554. Why do we still need to see each other? Su Qingyan didn't quite understand. Doesn't it make you feel uncomfortable? I think it's because of business. Tang Jingxian did not explain too much. After all, Su Qingyan was by his side. Even though I don't know what kind of benefits I have with her. He had already retreated from the entertainment industry, and was determined to play down everything that had happened. Since he had made his decision, he would not regret it. Su Qingyan looked at Tang Jingxian confusedly. Or to be more precise, her expression contained a trace of worry. To her, Tang Jingxian was not only an old classmate, he was also someone close to her. She didn't want Tang Jingxian to be dragged into any more trouble. The entertainment industry was a place full of trouble, especially now that Song Yanshu was already engaged. If she continued to see Tang Jingxian, wouldn't it be inappropriate? Jingxian, to prevent the media from writing nonsense, it's best if you leave. I'll stay here and see Song Yanshu on your behalf, Su Qingyan suggested in seriousness. After all, in the eyes of the media, you and Song Yanshu have always had an ambiguous relationship. Although you have already retreated from the industry, you still need to think for Tangkor. Most importantly, there is no need for the two of you to see each other. Tang Jingxian lowered his head and thought for a few seconds before nodding his head in agreement. Okay. In that case, hurry and leave. I'll let you know when to pick me up. I'll leave everything to you. After speaking, Tang Jingxian stood up from his seat and quickly left the hotel. A moment later, a disguised Song Yanshu arrived with a tall American man in tow. They quickly found Tang Jingshuan's location. Song Yanshu led the American man over. But at a table near the window, she found Su Qingyan eating on her own. Miss Su, where's Luo Xing? Have a seat first, Su Qingyan said to Song Yanshu. Of course, the knife and fork in her hand were still in the process of cutting her steak. Jingxian has something to do, so he left first. However, he asked me to stay and see you. He wants to know why you were looking for him so urgently. As soon as Song Yanshu heard that Tang Jingxian had already left, a look of disappointment appeared in her eyes. However, she did not show it to anyone. In that case, I'll contact him. After speaking, Song Yanshu pulled out her phone. Just as she was about to make a phone call, Su Qingyan stopped her. Miss Song, what else do you want? Jingxian is no longer part of the industry. Shouldn't you let him go? Su Qingyan asked straightforwardly. I can tell that you still have expectations for him. But don't forget, you are the one making the decision. Song Yanshu looked at Su Qingyan with a thought-provoking expression. In that case, let's have a chat. Jack is a famous composer in Europe and the US. Coincidentally, he discovered that Luo Xing's voice was similar to the one he was looking for. He felt that he could be trained, so he contacted me. If it's just because he doesn't want to see me, then there's really no need for this. After all, this is a rare opportunity. There's no reason why he doesn't want to see you, Su Qingyan retorted. You overestimate yourself. Song Yanshu's expression did not look too good. Let's not beat around the bush. Do you really want to help Jingxian today, or do you just want to play hard to get? Su Qingyan questioned Song Yanshu. Don't you understand how easy it is for the media to capture photos of you? I refuse to believe that an experienced and smart manager would make such a stupid mistake. Song Yanshu stared at Su Qingyan as tears began to gather in the corners of her eyes. After quite some time, Song Yanshu finally mumbled. Actually, I really miss him. Are you kidding me? You are already engaged. I only found out after I got engaged, Song Yanshu replied straightforwardly. I know I shouldn't have, but too many things happened at that time. I couldn't handle it in such a short amount of time. So, are you trying to make up with him? Su Qingyan looked at Song Yanshu with ridicule. Song Yanshu, you weren't like this in the past. Or did everyone misjudge you? Do you think you can give up on him just because you want to? Do you think you can get back together just because you want to? Do you think Jingxian will allow you to manipulate him like that? Song Yanshu froze. Today, I will represent Jingxian to say this for the last time. He will not be returning to the industry. He has a new goal in life. Therefore, song invitations and American composers were all useless to him now. From now on, please don't look for him on your own. Otherwise, I will feel uncomfortable. Song Yanshu listened quietly. After quite some time, she finally asked Su Qingyan with a pleading tone. Let me take a look at you. Just one look is enough. I don't think you need to see Jingxian right now. What you need is a clear mind. Miss Song, I hope this is the last time. Otherwise, you will be despised by everyone. Don't worry. At least, even if Jingxian has nothing left, he still has me. After speaking, Su Qingyan stood up. But at this time, Tang Jingxian casually approached her and asked, "Are you done? Are you done talking?" Su Qingyan pointed to Song Yanshu with her chin and rolled her eyes. "I hate things like this. Acting in a drama? First, the man pursues the woman, then the arrogant woman decides to act on her own. Finally, the man falls in love with someone else and the woman feels like she has been violated." Tang Jingxian laughed as he nodded his head. He then calmly said to Song Yanshu, "In my heart, you still have your perfect side. Don't destroy what's left of you. What if I told you that I could cancel the engagement for you?" Song Yanshu suddenly lifted her head and looked at Tang Jingxian with determination. "Luoxing, are you still willing to return to my side? After all, our relationship is already like that." Hearing the words cancel the engagement, Tang Jingxian and Su Qingyan froze. As for Song Yanshu's last sentence, it was obvious that she was threatening him. Their relationship was already like that. However, Tang Jingxian did not panic. He simply smiled. "Yanshu, what caused you to become like this?" Song Yanshu turned her head away and refused to look at him. "I'm sorry. Since you've already made your decision, don't regret it. Plus, you are already engaged and I already have Qingyan. I think I've already made my stand clear. Let's go our separate ways." After speaking, Tang Jingxian held on to Su Qingyan's hand. "Let's go home. I refuse to believe that you don't have any feelings for me." As Song Yanshu watched the couple leave, she immediately stood up and chased after them. Could it be that the pain from before was all an act? Chapter 555. That's not how relationships are calculated. Tang Jingxian did not turn around, but his response to Song Yanshu was unusually cold. "Plus, Yanshu, I still believe that a person that only cares about others can't be that bad. Don't drag me into this mess again. Whether it's you or the information you bring, I have no interest in either of them." Song Yanshu didn't know what was wrong with her. She thought back to the way she acted in front of Tongning and everyone else. It seemed, the jealous man before her was her true self. "Luoxing, I really need you," Song Yanshu said anxiously as she stood up. "I really need you." Hearing this, Tang Jingxian turned around. But at this moment, all he could think about was the injured Su Qingyan. Song Yanshu simply wanted him to satisfy her own unwillingness. "I'm sorry, I think there's someone that needs me more than you." Tang Jingxian lifted Su Qingyan's hand and looked at her seriously. After speaking, Tang Jingxian held onto Su Qingyan's hand and left Song Yanshu's sight without a trace of reluctance. Song Yanshu sat back down on the sofa in a daze as her hands trembled. Her previous hesitation made it impossible for her to realize just how important Tang Jingxian was to her. But by the time she finally realized what he meant, it was already too late. Too late. In reality, Song Yanshu had no idea that her simple request had helped Tang Jingxian see his true feelings even more clearly. Who was the person that he wanted, the person that he treasured and the person that he should protect? "You must be very proud of yourself. Song Yanshu has turned around and begged you." After leaving the hotel, Su Qingyan pulled her right hand away from Tang Jingshuan's palm. She looked a little awkward. "To me, she's already someone that doesn't matter. From the looks of it, Song Yanshu won't give up. I'm sorry, I may not have any other skills, but I am extremely stubborn. Once I've made up my mind on something, I will never look back," Tang Jingxian said in seriousness. "Let's go, I'll take you home." Su Qingyan's face turned a little red. But it wasn't clear if it was because of the light or because she understood the underlying meaning behind his words. On the way back, the two did not say a word. However, Tongning suddenly gave them a phone call. "Sis, don't give my information to irrelevant people in the future. Even if I don't tell her, she can find out from other places. If Yanshu becomes a burden to you, then you will never see her again." "Sis, I can handle this myself. Don't make a move. After all, you guys used to be so close. I know what I'm doing as long as she doesn't cross the line." "Is Qingyan by your side?" Tongning asked back. "Yes, I'm here." Tang Jingxian answered without hiding anything. Since you don't want me to get involved, then take good care of Qingyan. She is not a part of the entertainment industry, so there's no need for her to pay the price. Even though Song Yanshu was once impeccable at work and had done so much for Tang Jingxian, I don't think Yanshu is that stupid. But for the sake of love, there was nothing a woman wouldn't do. While Tang Jingxian drove Su Qingyan home, Elder Su and Father Su were sitting on the sofa in the living room. Father Su originally wanted to vent his anger at Su Qingyan, but there was someone else beside him that was even more stable than him. Su Qingyan wanted to laugh, but she didn't dare to. As for Tang Jingxian, because he was aware of Elder Su's existence, he was temporarily reassured about Su Qingyan's safety. Don't worry, go home. If anything happens, I will give you and Ningjia a phone call. Tang Jingxian nodded his head. After bidding farewell to Elder Su, he left the household. Meanwhile, after greeting her father and grandfather, Su Qingyan returned to her room. But the thing that scared her so much that she screamed was, the plushie that was originally sitting on her bed was now in pieces and lying on the floor. All the clothes in her wardrobe had been shredded to pieces by a pair of scissors. The shoes in the shoe cabinet were filled with glass shards. The suitcases in the cabinet were all filled with sharp blades. Su Qingyan was immediately enraged. She originally wanted to go find Yilan for revenge, but just as she reached the front door, she suddenly remembered Tang Ning's instructions. No matter what happened, she was not to act on her own. So Su Qingyan immediately gave Tang Ning a phone call and explained the situation in detail. Qingyan, although Yilan definitely had something to do with this incident, it may not have been her idea alone, if it wasn't for your father's support. Actually, Tang Ning didn't need to explain things too clearly. Su Qingyan could already guess what was going on. But she still held on to a sliver of hope. Then what should I do? Don't let anyone know. Tell Elder Su in secret. This is much more effective than igniting a war. Qingyan, remember, everything you are doing right now is to protect yourself. Don't try to show off your abilities. Most importantly, get your hands on the actual benefits. Only when you have power in your hands can you protect yourself and the people you want to protect. I understand. Thank you, Ningjia. Su Qingyan immediately understood what Tang Ning meant. So, she remained calm and waited until it was late at night before she gave Elder Su a phone call. Grandfather, can you come up for a moment? What's wrong? Aren't you all at home? Why did you call Grandpa? Grandfather, don't disturb Father. I beg of you. Hearing Su Qingyan's pleading voice, Elder Su stood up and headed toward Su Qingyan's room. As soon as he saw the mess on the floor, his face turned red with anger. Grandfather, don't be angry just yet, Su Qingyan said as she pulled Elder Su over to the sofa. Let me say a few words first. As she spoke, Su Qingyan handed Elder Su the report she had obtained from the hospital. As soon as Elder Su received the report, his eyes filled with shock. Was this all done by your animal of a father? Although Tang Jingxian had briefly explained Su Qingyan's domestic abuse, he never expected it to be so serious. Ever since that woman entered the family, Father's behavior has become even worse. That bastard! What an animal! Elder Su cursed. Qingyan, don't be afraid. Grandfather will stand up for you. Grandfather, I'm afraid that woman has already bewitched Father to the point that he no longer recognizes us. Do you think she will allow Su Kor to have peace? Elder Su thought for a moment and scoffed. I never said that Su Kor would be handed over to that bastard. Elder Su already had a plan in mind. Tomorrow, Grandfather will transfer both your mother's and your shares to your name. That way, you will have more than that animal. As for this house, Grandfather will also secretly give it to you. In other words, from now on, she could tell the slut Yilan to leave. Really? Chapter 556. Over the next 2 days. WH officially stopped screening and ended up with a box office of almost $2 billion. Meanwhile, Tang Ning displayed her extraordinary box office appeal. With the accumulation of her 2 films, she became the hottest box office queen. With one film, Stupid and WH She had established her foundation as an outstanding actress. Even if she didn't receive a Fei Tian award, in everyone's hearts, she was undoubtedly the best newcomer actress. Of course, the competition for the Fei Tian awards was as intense as ever. As a result, Yilan's fans went around slandering Tongning. They believed that Elder Mo had interfered in the process. After all, no one wanted to admit that their idol was worse than others. Even though Yilan's character was terrible, her acting was flawless. This was the main reason why her fans weren't happy with her decision. If someone else had received the award, then it wouldn't have mattered. But if it was Tongning, I will definitely not accept it. After all, Tongning and Yilan's acting is on a completely different level. Why are the awards these days getting worse and worse? There's obviously some shady dealings going on. Over the past few days, there had been a lot of discussion about who would receive the newcomer award. After all, this year's award was the most suspenseful and the competition was the most intense. Everyone seemed to have gotten used to watching Tongning's performance whenever she was around. But what right did an actress that had announced her retreat from the industry deserve to receive an award? I feel that giving an award to an actress that has retreated from the industry is a form of mockery for those that have persisted in acting. I don't have anything to say about her retreating from the industry. After all, everyone has the right to make their own choices. But, if it's an award, it should be given to those that are still working hard. Because of Tongning's retreat from the industry, the public had already heard about it. Although her works were still being released to the public, retreating from the industry meant that she had temporarily given up on acting. In other words, she had given up on acting for a long time. Late at night, Song Yinshu was at home drinking wine while watching the TV. The entertainment news was currently broadcasting the predictions for the Fei Tian Awards. At this time, her gaze was dark and filled with ridicule. Tongning won't receive an award this time. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded from behind her. Song Yinshu turned around and saw it was her fiancé. So she immediately asked, why? Because she's retreating from the industry. Being nominated is already a huge recognition for her. As for receiving an award, the committee would never consider someone that has retreated from the industry. What does this have to do with her retreating? There's no such rule in the industry that says you can't receive an award just because you've retreated, Song Yinshu argued. Insider information. The man sat down beside Song Yinshu and gestured for her to keep quiet. Tongning is indeed capable and Mo Ting is powerful. But the Fei Tian Awards is not something that Hai Rui can control. Although these rules haven't been revealed, the judges have already tacitly agreed to it. Haven't you reviewed the past winners of the Fei Tian Awards? Is there anyone who announced their retirement? The person who announces his withdrawal will definitely not be able to win an award. If that's the case, doesn't that mean Ning Jie won't get anything this time? Song Yinshu woke up a little as she propped herself up from the ground. That's impossible. President Mo has a meticulous plan. There's no way he wouldn't know about something like this. President Mo is indeed amazing, but he isn't omnipotent. The man sneered. I would like to see how President Mo is going to clean up this mess. Aren't you on good terms with Tongning? You can go ahead and tell her about this. The man sneered as he walked into the bedroom, leaving Song Yinshu sitting on the sofa on her own. At this moment, she felt conflicted. Tongning was Tang Jingshuan's sister, while Tang Jingxian. Why did she have to extend her love for Tongning? Plus, Mo Ting should have already made plans for something like this. Why did she have to make things difficult for herself? Late at night, Su family home. From the moment Elder Su announced that he would be transferring his shares and the Su family home to Su Qingyan, his lawyer had already arranged everything in secret. In other words, Su Qingyan was going to be the new owner of the Su family home. If she wanted someone to leave, even Father Su had no right to object. Father Su and Yilan had no idea that Su Qingyan had been holding back for the past few days. So they assumed that she was too afraid to make a public announcement, so they secretly increased their efforts. Su Qingyan did not mind. According to Tongning, she had already received everything, so why should she be calculative with Yilan over a small matter? Yilan was not someone that was easy to deal with. Within the industry, she naturally had her own small circle and connections. Because of the fact that Tongning had stepped on her, Yilan was filled with hatred. So, she called a good friend in the industry. Actually, it doesn't matter if I don't get an award. After all, I know that my acting is bad. But Yang Jie is different. She is a talented actress. If Yang Jie doesn't win this year's award, I will be the first to feel sorry for her. Su Qingyan and Tang Jingxian had just returned home. They stood silently behind Yilan as they listened to her fan the flames in the industry. The two women looked at each other. Su Qingyan gestured with her chin for Tang Jingxian to go home. Tang Jingxian simply patted Su Qingyan on the head. He did not care about Yilan at all. To Tang Jingxian, even if this woman cultivated for 10 lifetimes, she would never be half as smart and intelligent as Tongning. Afterwards, Su Qingyan approached Yilan and sat down on the sofa opposite her. With a smile, she said, "I still feel that you should be the one to receive this award. Your acting is truly a natural one." Hearing Su Qingyan's voice, Yilan put down the phone and glared at the woman opposite her. "What? What can you do to me?" "Of course, I can't do anything to you. But Yilan, you can't stop Tongning from receiving an award. No matter how much effort you put in. You don't even have the right to be nominated." Yilan looked at Su Qingyan mockingly. She did not care about her at all. To her, Elder Su was going to leave sooner or later. When that time came, no one would be able to help Su Qingyan. But she had no idea that a lot of things had already changed. "Why don't we make a bet?" Yilan looked into Su Qingyan's eyes with her chin. Her eyes were filled with confidence. "I bet that Tongning won't receive the Best Newcomer award this time. And if she does receive it, in that case, let's go big. I'll divorce your father." Yilan laughed in mockery. "What do you think? Isn't this what you've been waiting for?" Su Qingyan stared at Yilan. After quite some time, she finally replied, "I'm not going to bet on it because you don't keep your word. But I know that Tongning will definitely receive an award. As for you, you've already lost your chance." Chapter 557. Su Qingyan, I'd advise you not to be too arrogant. After all, Elder Tang is bound to leave one day. Su Qingyan ran her fingers through her hair and stood up from the sofa. She then laughed in ridicule. "Did you think I would still be important at this point?" Her trump card was already in her hands. Now the time was right. She was waiting to see Father Su and Yilan's expressions. At this moment, inside the quiet hospital, after Tang Xian experienced all sorts of oppression, she was trapped in the hospital by Elder Tang to recover. In reality, ever since the nurse told her that Tongning was also pregnant and reminded her to sell the news to the paparazzi, she had been planning this for a long time. All she wanted to do right now was escape from the hospital. But she had no money on her. Only the news of Tongning's pregnancy could give her any value. Especially when she saw Tongning being nominated for the Fei Tian Awards, and the entertainment news constantly being broadcast on TV. Her hatred and desire to escape grew stronger. But little did she know this time, she had practically ruined her entire life. After all, Tongning's patience had always been limited. And Mo Ting and her child were her bottom line. Over the past few days, Yilan's fans and Tongning's fans have been at each other's throats. Hearing the gossipy discussions in the lobby of the hospital, Tang Xian decided not to approach the paparazzi. After all, the paparazzi were simply working for someone else, and wouldn't be able to fork out a lot of money. Plus, they might cause trouble in the future. In the end, Tang Xian locked onto Yilan. Yilan must really hate Tongning. Yilan wasn't hard to contact. All she had to do was give her manager a phone call and mention that she had a collaboration to work with. After all, Tang Xian had been the big miss of the Tang family for so many years, so she could easily name a few big shots. Even so, when Yilan received Tang Xian's phone call, she was still quite surprised. "I am Tang Xian, the big miss of Tangkor." Yilan wasn't stupid. Of course, she knew Tang Xian's status in Tangkor. But because of the sensitive word Tongning, Yilan still asked in a lazy and arrogant manner. "Oh, it's you. I thought we had a big collaboration. I have a piece of first-hand information on Tongning. Do you want it? After hearing Tang Xian's words, Yilan suddenly felt a little amused. Tang Xian, are you talking to the wrong person? You didn't look for the media or the paparazzi, but me? Because I thought you would be interested. Tang Xian's voice trembled. In reality, she wasn't confident that Yilan would agree. Yilan swayed her legs as she munched on some melon seeds. She originally wanted to hang up Tang Xian's phone call, but she remembered that the relationship between Tongning and Tang Xian had always been bad. Since Tang Xian was able to contact her, perhaps she had some important information. Name your price, Yilan asked directly. 2 million. Tang Xian paused for a few seconds as she tried hard to come up with a figure that Yilan could accept. Even though this figure was only a fraction of what she once paid for a luxury car. But today was different from the past. Even if it was a mere $2 million, Tang Xian was afraid that Yilan wouldn't be willing to fork out the money. However, Yilan simply laughed as she laughed out loud. The once glorious Miss Tang is actually selling information to me for 2 million. Isn't this too funny? Miss Tang, how did you become so miserable? Tang Xian endured Yilan's insults as she clenched her fist and asked patiently, are you going to buy it or not? Of course I'm going to buy it. $2 million is all I'm missing from a pair of earrings. But in exchange, I'll be able to obtain some important information. Why not? But Miss Tang, you need to be careful. If this information isn't worth anything, I may be even more violent than Tongning, Yilan threatened. I want to pay you first. What if I tell you the information, and you go back on your word? No problem. Everyone in Beijing knows that you're poor. Yilan agreed straightforwardly. Afterwards, she instructed her assistant to transfer $2 million to the bank account that Tang Xian had specified. Of course, after receiving the money, Tang Xian also told Yilan about the information. Yilan froze for a moment. Tongning was pregnant. What did Tongning being pregnant have to do with her? Yilan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Did she just spend $2 million to buy something that the media was interested in? Yilan held onto her phone and thought hard. In the end, she made a phone call to Yang Shi. Since she had already received the information and spent $2 million, she was going to use it wisely. There was no way she was going to provoke Mo Ting. But she decided to do him a favor and pass the information to the other actors competing for the Fei Tian Awards, especially Yang Shi. This actress that walked in the gray area had a powerful underworld backing her. So, only the man behind her had the guts to compete with Mo Ting. So she directly contacted Yang Shi. Yang Jia, I have some news for you. I heard that Tongning is pregnant, but I'm not sure if it's true. Yang Shi was older than Yilan, but she was a year or two younger than Tongning. She came from a poor family and relied on her underworld background to slowly build up her wealth. As a result, she was feared by her peers in the industry. She started out as a singer, but she wasn't able to make it big. So when she went to Japan and South Korea, she returned to China and turned from a singer to an actress. Because she had invested a lot of money in her, she was determined to win the Fei Tian Awards. After all, this was the only way she could continue to climb up the ranks. Without a doubt, Tongning was the obstacle that she was most afraid of. Worst of all, was a person that had already announced their retreat from the industry. Yang Shi thought for a moment and finally made her decision. She was going to accept Yilan's favor, even though she knew that Yilan's motives weren't pure. Tongning was pregnant. Let's see what kind of exciting game of chess would come out of this game. The industry had always been flashy. Everything that a person did was simply for the sake of climbing up the ladder. After all, after experiencing the feeling of being chased by others, one would know how mesmerizing it was to be loved like crazy. Of course, when it came to the Fei Tian Awards, Mo Ting knew what the judges were planning. He also knew that for an actor to retreat from the industry, it was a sign of immaturity. Being recognized would also mean that he would lose a lot of opportunities. But he was never one to be unprepared, even though everyone was in a panic or waiting to watch a good show. Mo Ting maintained his usual calm. Of course, he was fully prepared. But at this time, Mo Ting received an invitation from the Originality Charity Night. This official charity organization actually invited Tongning at a time like this. Tongning had attended many charity events in the past, but this time she couldn't reject an invitation. Chapter 558. Originality had a strong reputation and was an international organization. So, they would send out invitations to influential people. So, those that received these invitations were naturally envied by others. After all, this was a form of recognition for an actress. At least, it was an official acknowledgement that her appeal was enough to influence a large number of people. As Tongning's manager and husband, Ting naturally couldn't reject an invitation like this. But he was worried about Tongning's health and the baby in her stomach. Although he was already prepared to go public, he didn't like things that were out of his control. Plus, attending the charity event required a long journey. As soon as Tongning saw the invitation, she expected Ting to be worried, especially since she was currently 6 months pregnant. In reality, the longer the baby stayed in her stomach, the more careful Ting became. I've already asked Lu Che to reject Originality's invitation, Ting said beside Tongning's ear. Instead, I've asked Feng Yu to arrange for a donation to show Hai Rui's sincerity. Even though I know that attending the Originality charity event is very important to your chances of winning the Fei Tian Awards, Tongning said beside Tongning's ear. Tongning gently rubbed her stomach as she smiled at Ting. You can make the arrangements. Ting wrapped his arm around Tongning and placed his chin on top of her head. Do you blame me? I've decided everything for you in such a domineering manner. Firstly, you are my manager. Every decision you make is made with me in mind. Secondly, you are my husband. I trust that everything you do is to protect me. Tongning replied gently. Perhaps, even she didn't realize that she trusted Ting more than she trusted herself. Attending the Originality charity event will be held in the Netherlands, so it will require a long journey. Most importantly, as soon as you leave my sight, I will worry so much that my heart hurts. Ting wrapped his arm around Tongning's neck and gently stroked her cheeks. These days have been the calmest since we got married. You are beautiful and capable. I'm afraid that if I leave you at home like this, you will be bored to death. After hearing this, Tongning was a little shocked. Because of her pregnancy, she had become more lethargic. Perhaps even she didn't realize she no longer cared for Ting as much as she used to. Thinking of this, Tongning grabbed onto Ting's hand and placed it against her chest, allowing him to feel her heartbeat. I still love you like crazy, don't you know? So no matter if it's an exciting life or a simple happiness, as long as you're by my side, I feel at ease. Just like your embrace right now. It's the warmest and most reassuring place I've ever been in my life. After hearing this, Ting remained silent for a few seconds. No matter how strong a man was, he was still weak in front of the person he loved the most. Sometimes he couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. Are you not ready to be a father yet? Don't worry, you will be the best father in the world. Ting nodded his head. He suddenly changed his mind as he pulled out his phone and gave Lu Che a phone call. Between him and Tongning, what had they not experienced? So a wolf would always be a wolf. Even if he was afraid of the cold and hunger, as long as he was given enough mental support, he would still be ruthless and fearless. The man backing Yang Shi was a famous philanthropist in Beijing. However, everyone knew that his background wasn't completely clean. As for Tongning's Originality charity event, it was all thanks to Yang Shi's help. So, regardless of whether Tongning was pregnant or not, he had to meet her to find out the truth. Ever since the Fei Tian Awards nominees were announced, Yang Shi began to research the works of her competitors. Out of the 4, the other 3 had a very typical development. Only Tongning overcame all obstacles along the way, and her popularity still remained high. Tongning's abilities, her way of doing things and everything about her made her feel like she was dangerous. So she was afraid. And her heart was filled with a strong desire to win. Yang Jia, it's been confirmed that Tongning will be attending. Yang Shi's manager gave Yang Shi a phone call. That's good. But I heard President Mo will be accompanying her, Yang Shi's manager emphasized. Should we think of a way to distract him? If you can think of something, go ahead and think of something. Although Yang Shi had heard that Mo Ting doted on his wife, she didn't really believe it. After all, she had never seen it with her own eyes. Plus, where in this world could she find a true love partner? Especially in the industry. Didn't everyone play around with their bodies and money? If Hai Rui goes bankrupt, I refuse to believe that Mo Ting will still be by Tongning's side. She simply wanted a chance to force Tongning to back down and win the award. If Mo Ting was to follow her, he would be a huge hindrance. After hearing this, Yang Shi's manager immediately made preparations. Unfortunately, Hai Rui wasn't something that could be easily shaken by other companies. Especially since she was Yi Lan's manager. But Yang Shi had grown up on the streets and had followed her brother for so many years. So when it came to underworld methods, she was extremely familiar with them. Over the years, she had secretly learned a lot about how to anesthetize others, and how to make them lower their guard. So it wasn't like she hadn't seen smart people before. But she didn't believe that smart people wouldn't fall into her trap. Her motive was simple. She wanted to either force Tongning to back out of the awards or force her to lose her child. Since Tongning wanted to make things difficult for her, she wasn't going to make things easy for her. How could competing with her have a good ending? In her subconscious, it was normal for women to have miscarriages. Perhaps, it was because the environment they grew up in had shaped their attitudes towards life. No matter what, she had to lure Tongning out first. In order not to be discovered, Mo Ting and Tongning left Beijing a day early in disguise and flew straight to the airport in the Netherlands. Afterwards, they checked into a hotel. Of course, thanks to Mo Ting's meticulous protection, Tongning was not disturbed at all. So, she had no idea that danger was slowly approaching. Meanwhile, Yi Lan was enjoying the fruits of the Su family's labor. Even if Tongning wasn't defeated, she would at least be able to witness a spectacular dog-eat-dog show. Did she want to win an award? No way. As Su Qingyan watched Yi Lan sitting at home humming a song, her eyes filled with disgust. This meant that Yi Lan had done something shameful again. But she was secretly pleased. Afterwards, Yi Lan stood up straight. But as soon as she turned around, she saw Su Qingyan standing behind her. What? Can't bear to see me in a good mood? Su Qingyan did not say a word. She simply stared at Yi Lan. Let's wait for a good show. Tongning is going to be in big trouble. Chapter 559. She was unlucky. If the other party was someone else, Su Qingyan might have believed them. But the other party was the experienced Tongning. She was able to deal with so many obstacles with ease. So Su Qingyan refused to believe that Yi Lan was the unlucky one. So, who was the unlucky one? In reality, everyone had a trump card in their hands. It was just a matter of who would reveal it first. Translator, Uni Editor. Uni The Originality Charity Night was held at the King Hotel in Holland. Tongning and Mo Ting had already checked in. However, this did not escape Yang Shi's meticulous planning. She was already waiting for Tongning to appear. Tongning was indeed pregnant. Even though she had tried to hide it previously, now that she was 6 months pregnant, it was no longer easy to hide it. After seeing this result, Yang Shi only had one impression of Tongning. She was indeed a difficult opponent to deal with. Of course, no one in the industry was easy to deal with. Especially those with a high status. Their EQ and social skills were not low either. But Tongning was a special case. Everyone knew that she had a clear line between what she liked and what she hated. Yet, there were always people who treated her with sincerity. But, Yang Shi believed that true friendship was nowhere to be found in this world. Especially in the industry. But, even though Yang Shi hated Tongning, she never looked down on her. After all, compared to Tongning, her background was even more complicated. Since her enemy was already in place, shouldn't it be time for her to deliver her well-prepared gift? Just as Mo Ting stepped out of his room, a waiter rang Tongning's doorbell. Madam, you have a gift for you. The lady who delivered the gift specifically told you not to let your husband see it. The waiter smiled as he left Tongning with an exquisite envelope and left the room. As Tongning held onto the envelope, She noticed that underneath the recipient's name was a message that said, "If you want me to help you keep this a secret, then tear it up after reading it." In reality, Tongning had already guessed that the person who played games with her was not professional at all. She had purposely picked a time when Mo Ting wasn't around. Wasn't it obvious that someone was monitoring her every move? Plus, what secret did she have that she had to hide? It seemed, the waiter was overly confident in his intelligence. Even so, Tongning still opened the envelope. Of course, before she opened it, she did a series of checks. After opening it, there was only a short sentence on it. "Come to the Queen's Banquet Hall at 7 o'clock in the evening. I'll wait for you by the window." There was no signature on the letter, so it was impossible to guess the identity of the sender. But Tongning found it quite interesting. Not long after, Mo Ting returned to his room. Seeing Tongning's teasing expression, he couldn't help but laugh. "What are you looking at? I haven't seen you like this in a long time." Tongning handed the letter over. Mo Ting took a look at it and threw it away with an indifferent expression. Why are the moves these days becoming more and more careless? Tongning wrapped her arms around Mo Ting and laughed. Although her move was low level, didn't it still attract your attention? Since she wants to play, I'll play with her. I was afraid that you... Ting, don't be afraid. Whether it's me or our baby, we aren't made of paper. We are both very strong. Normally, at times like this, Mo Ting would look at Tongning helplessly. Of course, even though he knew that someone else was in trouble, Tongning was still 6 months pregnant. As the person closest to her, he wanted nothing more than to block all attacks. So, how could he not be worried? But in the end, the person to compromise was always Mo Ting. 7 p.m. Tongning arrived punctually. Of course, as soon as she arrived at the Queen's Banquet Hall, she realized that the waiter had put in a lot of effort just to see her. In the banquet hall, there was a sentry every few steps. The bodyguards were very careful. This made Tongning feel a strong sense of danger. What did the waiter want? Perhaps sensing the gaze of the waiter, Yangshi turned around. As soon as she saw Tongning in the doorway, she immediately stood up and pulled out the chair opposite her. She was obviously a woman, yet she was able to do things that a man would do in such an elegant manner. This was one of the things that Tongning liked about her. Who else could it be? It was Yangshi. "You're here. Please have a seat." Yangshi noticed that even though there were so many bodyguards and staff present, Tongning did not show any signs of weakness. She simply ignored them like she didn't see anything. "May I ask why Miss Yang asked me to come here in such a hurry?" Yangshi looked at Tongning as she sat down opposite her. She then pointed to Tongning's stomach with her chin. "Miss Tang, you must be pregnant." Under normal circumstances, famous celebrities faced pressure from various parties regarding their marriages and children. Yangshi assumed that Tongning had kept quiet for so long because she was still worried. But to everyone's surprise, Tongning's expression did not change. She simply looked happy that she was about to become a mother. Of course, her mind never stopped thinking. "Aha, I'm around 6 months pregnant. Why haven't you announced it to the public?" Yangshi asked curiously. "Miss Yang, I think it's best if you tell me your motive. Sitting here like this is actually quite awkward for both of us. Plus, my husband is about to return to his room." Seeing that the man was trying to find a topic to talk about, Tongning didn't want to waste his efforts, so she directly asked for her motive. "Miss Tang, look at you. You have both fame and fortune. On top of that, you have such a powerful husband and an adorable daughter. I'm sure you don't need a Fei Tian decoration at home." Was he finally getting to the point? Tongning smiled and looked at the bodyguards as she asked Yangshi. "Don't tell me you've arranged so many bodyguards because you're afraid of me?" "Miss Tang, when speaking to a smart person, there's no need to beat around the bush. I'll give you 2 choices today. You can either get Mo Ting to cancel your application for the Fei Tian Awards, or you can stay here forever and never walk out of the King Hotel. I know President Mo is very capable, but there are so many people here. Even if he comes, he may not be able to get you out of here. What do you think? You've made such a big fuss to ask me out. Is this all you've prepared?" Tongning glanced at the bodyguards before looking away. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm in Holland and I'm not familiar with the people here, I wouldn't even bother playing with you. Yang Shi froze for a moment. The expression on Tang Ning's face was completely different from the naive and aloof woman that she was a moment ago. I think, compared to those that beat around the bush, you prefer to be direct. I also like to be direct. Do you want a child or do you want the Fei Tian Awards? My method is simple. But, aren't you already sitting here? Since you're already here, it won't be easy for you to leave. At this time, a hint of ruthlessness appeared in Yang Shi's eyes. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.